Zion Williamson, still very talented, lays it in.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
It's this crazy tension that we're in, so in the middle of it, I'm just like, okay, we're going to put a team on the floor that's going to represent our school like we always do. That's going to stay while things are changing around us. This is stable.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader. That is 1080 The Fan.
What is happening?
Happy Hump Day, everybody.
My day's off to a just terrific start. Just a phenomenal start to my Wednesday. Woke up every 45 minutes last night thinking it was time to wake up, so that was cool.
One of those days.
One of those rollovers like, no, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. And then got in the car, just not really paying attention, drinking some coffee on my way in. Got out of the house at a good time today, feeling good, leisurely drive in, and went over a pothole and spilled about half my coffee on my pants. So, bro, I got wet pants, and if you're guessing where the spots of my pants are wet, it looks like I peed my pants. So,
can you pull that in the brakes, Schultz? I got wet pants?
Yeah, that's the start to my day. That's the start to my day.
That's the Riz karma coming back at
that.
you.
Absolutely, me laughing at Rick Riz in his toupee, taking a heater to the side of the head.
Oh, we don't know if that's true.
Yeah, we got to do, but we don't know for certain. Allegedly, and now I got coffee on my pants, so I'm gonna walk out. Hopefully, it's dry by the end of the show. Thankfully, I sit under a desk during the show, but by the time I walk out, there's gonna be like weird, discolored, funky smelling stains on the front of my pants because that's like, lukewarm coffee cold coffee at that point. And
milky
so
coffee.
I get to walk around the office and tell everybody, I promise you, I did not pee my pants today. It's just a little bit of coffee.
I don't know if there'll ever be a point where I'll hear this and not want to laugh to the point of crying.
Swing and a foul.
That noise.
I can't.
It's impossible to
24
tell you.
hours later, it's still so good.
It might be the best.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad again because he clearly got hurt. He was missing the game. He did come back. I'd love to get the Rizzer on right before the start of the season to preview the Mariners and then just ask, are you able to get to a point where you laugh about it?
How long does it take? Yeah, in the aftermath of taking that to the head, how long does it take to be able to chuckle about it?
Because if that's me yesterday on the show, I'm coming in and we're pulling it and I'm laughing about
You're just laughing at yourself.
That's me.
You have to. That's the only way that you can respond to it.
And I don't know if you could have asked somebody, hey, I want you to pretend that a ball hits you. What would that sound like? I don't think they could deliver this. This was organic, real, and just hilarious.
It's the second one, the first one, and then the second one. The gargle. That's what does it every single time.
Well, I'm sorry you had that. I had that 2 days ago. Well, yesterday morning.
Yeah,
I was asleep, and I literally woke up and went. And I look at my clock, and it said 12:39. And
12:39
for about. It felt like 2 minutes, but it was probably like 20 seconds. I'm like, it's 12:39 in the afternoon. I missed the whole show.
It's already done.
I was panicking.
It's still dark outside. You slept for so long. You slept for 24 hours. It's 12:39 the next night.
We were told before we moved to this slot, this job in this slot will kill you.
Eventually, yeah. Nobody knows how long, but it'll get you.
And I think that's evidence of like slowly but surely our brains are melting and I can't tell time anymore. And I wake up at different random points and I'm panicking. And it's just not a good way. Not a good way to live.
Not at all. And the other tough part about it is every time you wake up with that cold sweat fear, you're awake.
Yeah.
You're awake.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm just rolling over in bed like, oh, I just randomly woke up because I had a weird dream. Let me slowly go back to sleep. Your brain starts firing on all cylinders at that point, and now you're laying in bed thinking, what the hell's wrong with me for the next 30 minutes? Then you finally fall asleep, and then it happens again an hour later.
Can I ask you a random life question?
Yeah, what do you got, Bob?
So, do you watch the show Righteous Gemstones?
I do not. I've seen a couple of episodes, but I have not seen the entire thing. I did not stop it out of not liking the show. It just was one of those, I forgot to keep watching it, and then 3 months went by, and I'm like, So now I'm kind of in the spot in my life with television shows that nothing ever gets spoiled to me. Nobody in my life, releases the information. I want it to all be done so I can binge it. So I'm waiting for the final season, and I'll dive through all of it.
Well, the final season started Sunday.
It is here. It is upon us.
By the way, wife and I have been going through because we keep seeing these prices of these streams, and we have almost all the streams.
Yeah, it adds up quickly.
And we're like, let's be a little smart financially. So we start going through this.
Yeah, try to pick and choose what you're watching.
Well, what stream do we want? What stream do we want to cut? And it's surprising because it's like, we're paying for Disney Plus twice. What?
Yep.
So I pay for Disney Plus, ESPN, Hulu on the ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, Hulu partnership thing.
You got to
Great
get the
combo.
bundle. It's a solid bundle.
However,
My
my phone provider gives me that same package for free.
Yeah, you got to check those fine print details.
Had no idea.
Yeah,
So
when
you
get
could
a
have
new
gotten it for
contract.
free.
No, I have been.
You
getting
have
it for free.
been getting it for free.
And we don't use that one. We use the
No.
one I pay $20+ a month for.
It's not a cheap thing every month.
So we canceled that out.
Look at you, $20 right there. Boom.
Then we canceled Amazon entirely.
Really?
Oh, Prime?
All
done.
of it.
All of it.
No
So
more
no more
Amazon.
delivery. No
Good
more
for
any of that.
you, buddy.
So I'll give you a quick example. My youngest daughter's basketball team their season's coming to an end this weekend. And the coach texts all the parents, "Hey, do you guys want? Is it cool if I do trophies? I thought that'd be fun. They're in 3rd grade."
Yeah, it's about trophy time.
And he sends a link to Amazon. And I saw this, and I just instantly was like, "No."
No.
So I go on my old Safari and I search trophies, Portland, Oregon.
There's a million trophy shops around the
hell
area.
There's one right up the highway from where
Local
I
biz.
live.
Yeah.
It's maybe 10 minutes away. I call the number to make sure it's working. It's just, hello, there's trophies and trophies.
Some old guy making
Yes.
trophies, dude.
And I talk to this dude. I say, yo, we need these before Sunday, and we need them engraved. And he's like, oh, that's no problem at all. Just give me the names. Trophies and trophies on it. And I'm like, so cool. So I text, and it's $3 cheaper per trophy than the online one.
You're damn right it
Wow.
is. And you're supporting a local business.
And
Boom,
that's
goes the
why
dynamite.
I canceled it. I'm like, you know what? Anything I need.
Stop being lazy.
Yes.
That's what it is. Amazon is pure laziness.
It's pure laziness. And so I call trophies and trophies. And I tell the coach this deal. I give him his number. They talk. He responds to the group. We're going to go with a local company, and they're going to have it done. Text your kid's name. And anyways, we're going through all the prices. We cut all this stuff yesterday, all these streams. We cut Netflix. And I was like, but I cut it because like $25 a month. Are you kidding me?
yeah, it keeps going up.
But then we found out we get Max and Netflix comboed on our phone provider for $10. But you have to have the commercials. And me and the wife grew up on commercials. I'm like, I don't care.
You're totally fine with that. So Netflix does commercials now? Or is it Max that does commercials?
Both.
Everyone does
It's
commercials.
the cheaper
Okay.
version.
Because Amazon does commercials. They've started slipping commercials.
Of course
in.
they did.
And I'm like, are you
does
kidding me?
commercials now. Netflix, they all. I'm trying to think of a
That was
service.
the whole point of
Our
streaming.
Hulu did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always had the Hulu commercial one.
Yeah, that's
Amazon
been around for a
commercials are
while.
new for me.
I don't
feel
mind
like.
a minute 30 commercial break.
No, but I
go
hate
little
take
bit of a
pee
breather.
or
Yeah.
something,
5-minute ones are a little annoying though for like a 22-minute sitcom. Like, I've seen this episode of Family Guy 70 times. Would you stop throwing a 5-minute
Yeah, see, I wouldn't
ad
do
in?
that. I wouldn't do
Yeah.
that at all. In fact, I also found out I don't have Peacock anymore.
Ah.
I thought I got it with the Michigan State Washington game a couple
right.
of years ago.
You're watching that first football game of the year?
Yeah, that got expired. It might have been a free trial and it just didn't roll over.
That's one of mine that just keeps getting renewed that I hardly ever watch.
$85 a month yesterday alone.
Cut in the Sprague household?
Good for you.
Cut
Look at you.
yesterday.
Well
Yeah,
done.
cut
Well done,
yesterday.
Spragues. Well done.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
We watch The Office too much, so we pay for the Peacock with no ads because it's kind of our comfort. Like, it's just something to watch. Nothing's really on after a sports game or something. Just throw the.
That's
Office on, so.
Apple TV is the one I didn't want to cut and it's cheap.
Apple TV's not too expensive.
Lasso. Well, there's an Apple TV, Apple Music combo on the phone
There
as
is.
well, and so
There
we
is.
did that. And
For the people into Severance, there's a lot of good shows on Apple TV. I feel like
Severance.
Apple TVs has really good shows that
Great
nobody publicized. Severance has kind of changed that a little bit, and Lasso
Silo?
did as well.
I just said that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's okay.
God,
Nobody hears me. It's
Pay
fine.
attention, dude. God.
I've literally we binge watched the first season, not knowing it existed, and then we're with bated breath waiting for the second season. Did you know, by the way? Speaking
You mean
of
the
Amazon,
third season?
Second
Second season just ended.
Well, no. When we discovered it, we watched the first season, and it was
Oh.
before the second
Oh,
season
gotcha,
came
yeah.
out. And that series was based on, I think Hugh Dowey was like the most successful self-made author. Remember, there was like a program on Amazon where you could write your own books and publicize them and just post them for people to buy.
No
Yeah.
clue.
That is where Silo came from.
He made that and then people bought it?
Yeah, and
That's cool.
it kind of just grew a mind of its own, and now obviously it's a TV show we're all watching.
Get back to making books, Bezos, you nerd.
Yeah, damn it, that's how your whole company started. The Amazon thing is the one I'm most jealous of.
Why can't you do it?
I can do it. I should do it.
Just do it.
I should do it.
How many times? There's a listener.
It's mostly
of ours,
a kid thing of like, hey, we need diapers, boom. But now that I live in an area where we can, like, I had this yesterday. We were out of milk for the little guy. He's on his whole milk, right? We're growing tall. We're growing strong.
None of that candy ass.
None of that candy ass 2%. We're on whole milk, baby. We're beefing those bones up. He's in his height, percentage. We're looking solid.
6'6",
13 plus months in. We're looking solid.
Didn't you
dude.
say you stopped growing after 7th grade?
Top 20th percentile, okay?
You sprouted up.
He might be an outlier, and I'm pretty excited about that. So we're pumping him full of whole milk as often as we possibly can. But now that I live in an area where it's like, hey, I need whole milk, boom. I'm like 4 blocks. I walk to a grocery store and go get whole milk. It's so much easier than the past where it was like, all right, now I got to go load them into the car and I got to go this place. Like, so Amazon is on my list. They're on my chopping block.
Do it.
I don't buy anything on Amazon.
Yes.
It's the significant other that buys things on Amazon.
Same with mine.
As we all
And I
probably
talked to her
operate
about
in
it.
our
I said,
household.
look, you tell me what you need.
I'll go get it for you.
I'll Google. I'll find it. I'll go
Yes.
get it. I'm off at 9 a.m. Like, stop.
I got all day. We'll go on a journey through the neighborhood. We'll go find. There's got to be some local store that's got whatever crap you're buying. And 97% of the stuff, I dare to guess, we probably don't need anyways.
I'd rather pay an extra couple bucks to a local store anyway than get whatever they're giving me from China. That's not going to work half the time.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I'd rather help somebody pay their rent here locally than just give it to a corporation.
It was liberating. I got to be honest. I
gonna
was
be a good
actually
feeling.
really proud because I told my wife I wanted to do this, and she just out of the blue did it. And I'm like, wow.
Good
Let's
for
give
you.
her a standing ovation.
Well done.
How about that?
Wow, I'm
Life
proud of you. Wow.
equals a clutch
No more
move.
packages showing up to the house 5 days a week. This is glorious. I'm a little jealous right now.
Well, you should dive into
I
it.
know. I'm going to start working on that. I'll fight that battle this weekend.
I was going to ask you a question, but now we're already against it.
No.
It was about the gemstones.
Oh, okay.
Their first episode was Old Western.
An old Western
It
gemstone.
was set in the Civil War era.
The beginning of the gemstones, I'm guessing.
It was the prelude of the gemstones, how they were created, and Bradley Cooper, I think, if I watched this correctly, was the long-lost relative who really wasn't a gemstone.
Did
but
we know that Bradley Cooper's cameo was coming, or did that come out of left field?
No, people had gotten wind of this, I
That
guess.
he was going to be in the show.
And so some people were surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to be
Bradley
in it.
Cooper, look at that.
Not a single gemstone's in it.
Ah.
And so some people were frustrated. It's a pretty serious episode.
So they want the gemstones because it's the final season of the gemstones, and they didn't get the gemstones.
They got Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
But I liked it, and I just kept watching this episode being set again in the Civil War era, and I thought, man, never could have lived.
Never.
I don't know how
Hell
those
no.
human beings lived back then.
Never would have survived.
Just
such a
bad
wuss.
timing.
No chance in hell.
No way.
Something's going to get you. Disease,
I would have
fever.
been dead by 17. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, wild animal.
Yeah.
I just, the odds of making it to 25 were so minimal.
Speaking of
The clothes, everything seemed awful.
Not showering.
Oh.
You're just hot
They
constantly.
were
There's
showering ponds.
no air conditioning. Oh, you imagine sleeping in the summer in one of those houses just in like the middle of nowhere and it's 105 degrees.
no.
no
Ah, it's
ice
awful.
cold anything, no milk. God,
Nothing.
No Amazon Prime to deliver you your things to your door. I gotta-
Underrated, by the way.
I got to go hunt and kill all my stuff.
Two things back then.
Yeah.
Warm milk, because you didn't have the refrigerator.
No.
And warm beer.
Warm beer.
They drank warm beer. People think they drank ice cold beer our entire existence.
It always looks so refreshing.
It wasn't.
It was not.
It's
It was
disgusting.
warm.
But I would also dare to guess, like, if you didn't know what ice cold beer tasted like, I bet warm beer was very delightful for you.
But don't you
Because
think
you wouldn't have the other, like, for us, if you have a warm
Yeah.
beer, you're like, ugh, that's a warm beer. But you don't have, you have a frame of reference for cold beer.
But don't you think if you drank beer back then, in your mind, you'd wonder, I wonder if this would be better if it was somehow cold.
Somehow chillier than this. Is there any way to, like, hey, it's snowing outside. Why don't we go put the keg out there and then we'll drink some cold beer and it's going to taste delightful.
You remember when Marty goes back to the Old West to get Doc because Doc's dead?
Yes.
And Doc gets him in, he wakes up, and there's this big machine is rumbling and smoke's coming out, and at the end, he just ding, and he goes, iced tea? And it was all just to make a cube of ice.
One ice?
That guy.
One ice cube, man.
Back
Oh
in the
my
18,
God.
what was it, 80s?
Something, 1880 something, just to make
Buford Tannen. They had to go battle Buford
Mad
Tannen.
Dog.
Mad Dog Buford Tannen.
It's a good nickname. Come on.
It's a phenomenal nickname.
Well, we got a lot to get to today.
We do.
Hit me in the head. Damn it, man.
I'm so
All right,
glad
did it
Rick's
get you?
okay.
Did it get you?
Are you okay?
Did it? That you know?
You all right, Rick?
Did it?
Get up, Rick. We got a game to call.
God. Come on, Rick.
I
faking
you know
it.
what?
Stand up, dude. It's the third inning. We got 6 of these to go.
Weekend at Bernie's with Rick.
Yeah.
I will say I
And
probably
my
would have
pitch.
sent it to break if I were Gary significantly quicker.
Well, yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and take a quick break here, and we're going to make sure our
Gary
partner
was
is
caught off
alive.
guard by
I mean,
that.
if I were with one of you and you were on the ground, I'd be all right. We'll be right back. Instead of being like, "You okay? You okay? You okay?"
We got a lot of college basketball to talk about. Man,
We
tickets
do.
are being punched left and right.
They are.
I got a take about my alma mater.
Ooh.
I'm pretty confident in it. One of those, like, might die on the hill. Don't think you could talk me out of it. There's nothing you could actually say to talk me out of it, and I'll tell you what that is.
And our producer now has to return to work. His vacation in Las Vegas is officially over. We think.
How disappointed was he?
Very disappointed.
He wanted to not come back to work and go call a game that he never calls.
No fan madness. We're going to the first round of the tournament, baby.
So we'll get to that. We got NFL odds and ends that happened yesterday as well, and we'll talk with Tyson Alger. The Oregon Ducks get ready for the Big Ten tournament that starts up tomorrow. Right? Tomorrow? We're short at 8:30?
Tomorrow we are off at 8:30. And if
Yes.
Oregon wins tomorrow,
Which
we
they
are
will.
off again Friday at 8:30.
How about that?
Swag
For
comes back
9
for a
a.m. games.
Yeah.
Short show.
9
Swag
a.m.
comes
games
back
in
for.
Indianapolis. Catch the fever.
We'll talk with Tyson of the I-5 corridor at 7:30. Dirt and Sprague. Let's get it going next on The Fan.
The best. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Look, sometimes you give takes, and then you get held responsible for those takes. I hope this is just a joke. I support anybody making a buck. It sucks. It's tough out there. One of our listeners says, I listen to you guys each morning at the local warehouse for Amazon. Brandon inspired me, and I just quit. Fight the machine.
Damn. Please don't.
Don't.
Don't quit your job. Don't quit your job.
Please keep going.
That's a pretty funny tweet, though. That's it. I'm out.
I'm going to pull a Bane reference here from Batman. The fire burns within, brother. Keep working up that train. Unionize.
Keep talking too much like that. Jeff Bezos going to get a sniper outside the studio.
It is, man. You're going down. Amazon's taking you down after the show. You think that you're like Kramer trying to cancel his mail. You think you can cancel Amazon? They're coming after you, buddy.
Organize, my brother. What's inside?
It's like back in the day trying to avoid the phone companies. Like, nope, you're going to have to use them.
I feel bad for all the people that work there, too, because there's nothing again. Like, there's wonderful people that work for Amazon. They work their ass off, and they deserve to make significantly more money than what they make. And maybe not pee in Gatorade bottles.
Jeff, pay them fair wages. Why don't you?
You do that, maybe I'm not canceling Amazon.
You hated that Batman. I loved Tom Hardy's Bane.
Darkness is your ally.
That was a weird
You merely adopted.
That was the worst of the three.
Yep.
It was the worst of the three.
I think people would largely agree with that. The actress that was the bad guy, that was pretending to be the good guy.
That ended up being the bad guy, the twist at the end.
She came out recently and basically was like, yeah, I really wish they wouldn't have used my death scene as the final death scene.
Yeah.
Because she just, it's one of the worst death scenes in a movie.
It's pretty bad.
It's done. She was like, I didn't want to do that one.
I think she gave you one of these.
And she's dead.
And there went Bane's master.
I think what made it extra worse is that The Dark Knight was so rewatchable. Like in college, that was...
I can rewatch all of them, be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I can. It's one of those, if I'm scrolling around and it's on, I'll watch a few minutes of it. It's not a terrible movie. I just think when you're held up against the standard of the other two, that's a tough top two to crack.
That opening plane scene...
Pretty solid.
It is.
Where Bane is one of the prisoners. And
one of us is suspected in the record.
But that's the best part of the movie.
Expect one of us in the records, brother. The fire burns within. Yes.
See you later.
Good luck.
I'm out.
Ditches him. Hey, I want to ask you something.
Yeah, what do you got?
College basketball tickets are being punched left and right.
They are.
We got March Madness is right around the corner.
Are you feeling the madness? Is everybody over there feeling the madness?
I am feeling the madness.
Yeah, you got a little madness in you today?
Is there a podcast out? Schultze, could you look this up? You're on the computer. Could you find a basketball podcast under Kayla Karius? Karius. Could you find that for me? And if you can't, that's okay. Because I searched last night. I couldn't find one. I went to all of the other national radio websites, and I couldn't find her show anywhere. And it turns out Kayla Karius doesn't do one. She's the head women's basketball coach at Green Bay. They're the 1 seed in the Horizon League, and they've punched their ticket. Hey, Doug, walk across the hall and find out how to really coach a college basketball program.
I had no clue where you're going with that. Like, and I missed something. Was there some big news bomb yesterday? Like, what is going on here? What did I not scroll past on social media? And then you delivered it. You delivered the punchline.
The Green Bay women's program has entered this season on a string of 46 consecutive winning seasons.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good run right there.
Yeah.
Old Doug Gottlieb instead wants to battle against the detractors who tell him he shouldn't be doing both jobs, and he's not taking either of them serious. I mean, he's never taken his radio career seriously to begin with.
Well, yeah.
But in year one of his basketball coaching career, he was 4-28 and 2-18 in conference play.
Yeah.
And instead wanted to attack anybody who dared criticize his coaching performance when, again, he went 4-28 and 2-18 in Horizon League play.
I'm like, bro, you should be selling insurance. You're lucky.
Okay. I was scrolling, and basketball's on in the afternoon, the evening. It's on all day right now, which is why we like this, right? It's like, hey, we got programming randomly on.
Dude, I forgot that OSU Portland game was on until that was like 1:45. I'm like, oh, that's right. I got afternoon hoops on.
Well, I saw this Green Bay game. Like, I didn't know anybody in this game. I just saw the end. It's like, oh, wait a minute. That's the Green Bay that Doug Gottlieb coaches
That
at.
is the same Green Bay.
And that women's team is the 1 seed in the Horizon League.
19-1 in Horizon League play.
And they punched their ticket yesterday and got right through their conference tournament.
They did. Welcome to March Madness.
How about not having a show on a national radio platform every day where you have to go to the basement to do it? You just coach basketball.
My favorite one was he filled in for the Herd a couple of weeks ago, and the first 3 minutes of the show was just him
Yep. Sitting down, picking up his headset, putting it back down.
Producer
picking
is
it
here.
up
Doug,
again.
Doug, we're hot. We're
Hello,
hot. We're
hello.
live.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Hey, what up? It's Doug Gottlieb.
It's like, are you there? Or when he was on the midst of a 20-game losing streak and he went to Radio Row at the Super Bowl.
Jeez.
I'm heading down to New Orleans. See you later, team. I got to go interview some A-list celebrities.
Text me if you guys need anything.
I'm out.
I'll be in New Orleans.
Send me the practice footage, all right? I promise you I'll break it down and do recruiting at the same time because I take this job very seriously.
Doug, we need to get you on. We got a 3-star that's actually considering us. I just drank a tornado. Thanks, Doug. Good to know.
Good to know, Doug. Good to know.
Let's dive in. There is a local-ish team. They did something pretty great yesterday. A record, remarkable feat by that coach. And I want to go through some of the other tickets that have been punched in some of this crazy March Madness stuff. I want to get to the Oregon State stuff at 6:45, and then Chauncey Billups won last night.
Chauncey Billups did.
He got a win last night.
He got a dub.
I was pretty impressed with the way he was coaching in that game.
Yeah, did very good.
And so we'll get to that as well. Tyson Alger will join us at 7:30. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first, Schulte with a sports update.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Good or bad weather, the golf course is always the driest around. Download the Langdon Farms app today to get all the latest news and specials. First on the Fan, Portland Trailblazers back in action tonight, hosting the New York Knicks at Moda Center. DeAndre Ayton going to be out, though. He's got a calf strain. At least that's what's listed on the injury report. Jeremy Grant listed as doubtful. Robert Williams III is questionable. The Blazers, though, only 4.5-point underdogs. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. A busy offseason continuing in the NFL as free agents now can officially sign with teams today at 1 p.m. this afternoon. The San Francisco 49ers signing former Rams wideout DeAndre Hunter to a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. Defensive end Joey Bosa agrees to a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. It's $12.5 million. That was, of course, after he was released by the Chargers earlier in the week. The Baltimore Ravens bringing in wideout DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year deal worth $5 million in guarantees, and the Atlanta Falcons signing defensive end Leonard Floyd for 1 year, $10 million. And some bad news from the world of golf yesterday. 15-time major champ Tiger Woods announcing that he underwent surgery for a ruptured left Achilles tendon, and right now there's currently no timetable for a return. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
3-2 Beavers. The
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I'm actually make an executive decision here, and I'll put some ticket punching to 7:15 today.
Okay.
Since we talked to Tyson at 7:30.
We do.
I still get to the Oregon State stuff. I wanted to ask you, and this is why I made the decision. I was in the bathroom thinking about the show.
That happens sometimes when you go to the bathroom.
And I said, it's probably better that I throw this at Dirt versus the other way around. Yesterday, I didn't know where this registered on the big breaking news meter. I actually saw this, and I just went, that's a bummer. And then I kind of moved on. It was big news, I think, in the sense of how it was reported. But it didn't hit me in the way that it would have hit me a decade ago.
I know what you're going here.
Tiger Woods ruptured his Achilles yesterday.
He did.
And he immediately got surgery for it. And so he's going to be out for definitely all of this year. And it's not that I didn't or I don't think Tiger's worthy of the big breaking news.
No.
I haven't viewed Tiger largely since he won the Masters randomly in 2019 as a real serious golfer that could win on that level anymore. The field is too good.
Yeah.
Where did this register for you? Because ESPN and SportsCenter were running with this right along the same lines of college hoop ticket punches and all the other sports going on yesterday. Where did this register for you as a golf guy?
I mean, it was still a bummer, but I had a similar reaction to you. It doesn't hit the way that it would have hit circa 2013 when he went through all the stuff that he was going through, and you thought, is he ever going to come back from this? And then he finally did in 2019, and he had a great run leading him to that win at the Masters as well. Like, he nearly won the PGA Championship the year before. He nearly won the Open Championship the year before. Lost one of them to Brooks. Lost one of them to Molinari. So he had a great run there, and then that was kind of it. And then the car accident happened, and he had to come back from that. So this is just kind of who he is. I am somebody, though, that still gets excited. I watch golf tournaments whether he's playing or not. But I will admit to you that when he's in the field, there's a little more juice. When he's in a featured group in a tournament, and I'm watching that on ESPN Plus at 6:45 in the morning, it's a little more exciting just to watch him, because there's an aspect of, I know that he's not going to win again. I know he's never going to win another major, but he is the greatest golfer of all time, the greatest golfer I've ever seen. And every time I get an opportunity to watch him, I'm going to enjoy it and appreciate it. Whether he's shooting a 77 or whether he's shooting a 68, it doesn't matter to me. It's Tiger Woods, and it's cool to be able to watch Tiger Woods still play golf. I was too young to fully appreciate, I think, the official begin of his career, and I'm bummed out by that. Like, I remember him winning the 97 Masters, but I wasn't a diehard golf guy when I was 9 years old. I remember it being a big deal in the sports world and what he was doing being a big deal, but I didn't follow golf at that age the way that I do now. And so there's like a bummer factor there of like, God, if I was just a little bit older, I would have been able to appreciate it more. And so now knowing that he's going to be out the rest of the year, he can still hit it with anybody. It's just the physical limitations of walking. He was actually going to likely play not only the Genesis, but also the Players' Championship, which is this week, which is one of the biggest events of the year. But his mom passed away, and so he stopped practicing. And so he's kind of away from the game, and now he was, kind of gearing it back up for the Masters in a month or less than a month. And that's the only bummer of, he would have played at Augusta, probably made the cut, and then shot like 80s on the weekend, but it still would have been fun to watch him at Augusta.
Yeah, I saw a story this morning that LeBron and the Lakers game against the Celtics last Saturday night is the highest rated regular season game, most watched game since their Christmas Day game, which that one was also LeBron and the Lakers against Steph and the Warriors.
It was the highest rated non-Christmas Day regular season game, I want to say, in 7 years for the NBA.
It was like 4.9 mil or 5 million, depending on who you're reading it from.
I watched it. I'm
That's
not a huge NBA guy, but I watched it.
And I did too, but by the end of the first half and then the second half, it was like, it doesn't look as good.
I just love a Saturday night basketball game. I'll watch almost whoever they put on that, unless it's the 76ers.
Well, it's Lakers and Celtics. I mean, I can't stand either organization, but that plays into it.
It is very interesting, is it not, to look at the landscape of maybe those two sports specifically and say the most watched, most wanted, whether you hate them or love them, LeBron, Steph in basketball. And I think what you say absolutely resonates. It's true. Is in golf, it's still LT Gray.
I mean, the ratings back it up. When he's in a tournament, the ratings are higher than when he's not playing.
And I don't know who, we don't do this to golf, Well, I mean, we kind of have a little bit, but we don't do it
Who's
to golf.
the next guy?
Yeah.
Who's the next Tiger?
We don't do that to golf the way that everybody does that to basketball, right? Because it's like, well, who's the next guy in the NBA? And it's like, well, you got this guy, that guy. And it's like, yeah, well, most of America's saying whether they hate him or like him, they'll always watch LeBron more than anybody else.
They will.
In golf, I don't know who that is. We've always talked about the dynamic of Tiger Woods and kind of all of that mix of who he is in golf and how that kind of grabbed everybody in this country that never really cared about golf, and then suddenly it was like, oh, I'm watching golf. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is in that sport, but that was my takeaway yesterday. It wasn't so much that like, he's hurt.
He's not going to win now.
He's
Like, he wasn't going to win
mid-40s.
anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
It was more just like, well,
He
what
might be
is this,
nearly 50.
What is this going to
He's
mean
49.
for
49
the sport?
years old. Yeah.
What is it going to mean this year for that sport and for those networks when they're carrying the unofficial major championship that you mentioned?
Yeah, he hasn't played the Players in a very long time, and there was hope that he was going to be able to play it. Really, he was down to 5 events a year.
Right.
If he could play the majors, he would play the majors, and then his tournament is the Genesis, which is usually at Riviera, but this year they had to move it to Torrey Pines because of the fires in Los Angeles, and so they didn't play at his home course.
Scotland, right?
Yeah,
Troon?
I would
Yeah.
imagine the Open Championship was the last time. Well, outside of the sometimes he plays a Hero World because that's also his tournament in the offseason.
I'm
but
talking
that's a
tour
random
events,
one.
I guess.
And then he
yeah.
does the PNC Championship with Charlie. But yes, tour events. I mean, that's a major, so it's not a tour event. But I get your point.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
The last major event that he played, Open Championship last summer. Yeah, and look, is it going to have that big of impact on golf? Yeah, I mean, Thursday and Friday ratings, I'm sure, might be a little bit down. If you would have given me Tiger in a feature group on Thursday at Augusta, I'm probably keeping an eye on that feature group just to see how he plays, knowing that he's not going to win, just appreciating being able to watch him. Golf's just, look, the overall sport's in a very weird spot, and they've been dragging this out for like 2 years now. Remember when Monahan and the Piff Bro showed up on CNBC one afternoon? They're like, hey, by the way, we got a deal. We're going to partner. That was a long time ago, and they have not found a deal quite yet. And now there's rumblings of some of these guys on Live who their contracts are up. This is going on with Brooks Koepka right now, where Fred Couples came out and said he wants off the Live Tour and back on the PGA Tour, which is a weird thing to say. He's not wrong, because I guarantee you Brooks Koepka regrets his decision, not financially, but he's playing on an irrelevant tour that nobody watches. And he was asked at the latest Live event, hey, are you leaving? And he was basically like, look, I'm fulfilling my contract, and then I'll make my decision, because all these guys signed like 3-year deals to go play Live Golf, and then the PGA Tours, if they can't reach an agreement, is going to lift the embargo on these guys returning, and so you'll get some reunification of the sport, whether the two tours end up melding together or not. But the entire sport's in a very weird spot, and he's tried to address some of that. Tiger has. He's still a leader of the players. He had the TGO created, which has been a new revenue stream for a lot of the bigger names in the sport. And I haven't watched it every week, but I've watched here and there. It's been entertaining from time to time.
I would say largely, too. I don't know the numbers week in and week out, but I would say from what I've seen, because I watched the first week, I saw a little bit of the second week, and I have not watched since. I would say, though, that like regardless, even if it's sub $1 million, that has just been a good thing for the sport.
It's been unquestionably a good thing to get weeknight entertainment on with Rory versus Tiger.
With pro athletes
that are doing this kind of stuff, and it's been very entertaining. I will tell you my favorite thing that Tiger does, though. Every time I see it, it cracks it up. Unfortunately, it's been a lot of bad news recently, but as a social media follower of Tiger Woods, because how could you not follow Tiger? He sends all his own tweets, don't you know? Every time he releases something, he always has a press release.
It's a press release, a photo of a press release.
A photo of a press release. But then in the words of the tweet, he says the press release. So like yesterday, 17 hours ago, he writes in his tweet, as I began to ramp up my own training, blah, 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 I ruptured my Achilles.
Yeah.
The whole thing. And then you read the statement in the graphic, and it's the same thing.
Hits that algorithm twice.
He gives you the press release in a graphic with his Tiger Woods logo at the top, and then in the actual tweet, which makes me chuckle every time I read it.
Well, we have local media members, and I will not call all of the ones that do this because it's more than just one, but we have local media members that they do this. If Woj, when he was reporting, would say like, Portland Trailblazers guard so-and-so is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, they would quote tweet it and be like, Trailblazer guard out 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm like, what? You're
I can read it right there.
Just
Thank
retweet
you.
it. I mean, what are you doing?
That's the initial statement. It says it right there.
You got to get your 3 retweets and 5 likes. Like, what are you doing with that? I never understood why people did that.
You know, to your guys' point quickly about the PGA and kind of looking for just that next guy up, there may not really be.
There never will be another one.
Exactly. I mean, you got Brooks Koepka up with 5. I think Nicholson has 6. Is he going to win 16? Like, no, of course not. And that's been over a long period of time. And then comparing it quickly to the NBA, like the NBA needs that next guy up. Of course, you go from LeBron and Steph now to
but
like
people are telling you with their eyeballs they don't think that there is one right now
in the NBA.
In the NBA,
no, that's what I'm saying. But they really need it as opposed to the PGA. Thankfully, they're just, I don't know if it's just because they're like a more highfalutin or just like laid back sports fan that just accepts greatness when they watch it, and then they love the sport of golf regardless of if there's a Jack Nicklaus or if there's a Tiger Woods or not. But I think that golf fans can just appreciate greatness as opposed to NBA fans where they're like, no, we need to see some kind of like elite guy leading the entire league.
Well, the only disagreement I have with that take is the NBA just got a $76 billion deal for 11 years, year one. It's not even year one.
But that's, I would say that
so
was.
what do they need? Golf needs it. Golf doesn't have.
Yeah.
What is the next 5 years of golf? I don't think anybody in this room could tell me.
But people would enjoy.
And I would argue that I would argue that I don't think either sport needs it because neither sport can get it. It's not attainable. There will never be another Tiger Woods.
Yeah, there'll never be another LeBron.
And not even from a talent standpoint, just from a captivating standpoint.
Right.
You will never have that again. The name, he was a prodigy,
the race,
his skin color, all of him winning the Masters as a teenager in 1997, you're never going to be able to recapture that. And so there might be somebody who gets to 10. Maybe it's Scotty, maybe it's Rahm, maybe it's Brooks. I don't know. Maybe one of these guys ends up getting to 10. Bryson, who the hell knows? But golf's overall, the field is better than it's ever been. And I think this is the point of the NBA. The NBA is deeper and more talented than it has ever been. The skill level is higher than it has ever been. And so I think I would argue in this era of either sport, it's harder to break through and be a quote-unquote all-time great that just dominates the sport because it's never been better. It's more international than it's ever been, both golf and the NBA. You're never going to be able to have another LeBron James. I just don't think it's going to happen. Or a Michael Jordan. That was a moment in time in the 1990s where everything came together. Commercials, television, national TV deals, dynasty, the championships,
sports
the team.
Marketing took off
sports
in the
marketing.
Jordan
It just was a moment. And Tiger Woods was the same thing. And so I see, I think both sport would agree with you in terms of they would love to have it if you could find it. But I don't think either sport's in a spot where we need this in order to survive. They're both doing okay.
We'll get back to some college basketball coming up on the show. We got some football notes to discuss as well. And Tyson Alger will join us at 7:30 as the Oregon Ducks get ready for the Big Ten tournament starting for them tomorrow at 9 a.m. So we'll talk with him at 7:30. Dirt and Sprague, we're back with more on 1080 The Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
We get some Oregon State stuff at the top of the hour. Some tickets were punched. The old fight in Gaffney's came close. Couldn't quite do it.
Came close, man.
Random off the beaten path story not involving sports I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
When you see these, does this impact as a consumer and buyer, does it impact the way that you choose to purchase? Southwest Airlines announced this morning they're going to start charging now for bags.
We're charging again for bags?
That was a big selling point as them as an entity was we don't charge you for bags. And now Southwest Airlines has announced that they are going to indeed charge you for bags.
I mean, yeah, that's going to impact my decision-making in flying. I don't have to do check bag very often. Like, I pride myself in being a light packer and being able to fit everything in the overhead bin that I possibly could need, unless it's an extended vacation where you don't really have a choice. But this is going to change. We have not had a trip yet with Teddy Ballgame, at least in flying. We have our first one coming up this summer. We're going to Philly to visit some family. And I'm first off dreading the flight with him because I don't know how he's going to do it.
That's a long trip.
It's a long trip. Flying with
Where's your connection flight?
Tim, we got to go to Seattle first, and then from Seattle to Philly, which is
my gosh.
Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare.
So you fly 20 minutes in the air.
Yes, land.
To then fly 6
and then
hours,
we got like
5
40
hours?
minutes in between connecting flights, so there's not a time to reset him.
Now you're home aloneing.
Now we're home aloneing from one flight to the next, and he's going, in the concourse of the airport. So I am dreading this, sure, a great vacation. I'm sure it'll be very relaxing and peaceful. No, excited to see family, but this will be the first time where we're like, all right, we're going to have to pack a bag for him and the wife and carry him. And so I think we're going to have to check a bag for that trip. And this unquestionably would impact my decision making.
Are you a Southwest flyer?
Not very often. No.
Good. I hate Southwest.
Not very often. I don't know if Southwest goes to Philadelphia, but they did not have the best deal to go to Philadelphia.
I mean, just any
legroom problems for me with them.
Well, yeah, that, and it's 2025. Any situation where you're not assigned seating, I think it's just a penchant.
They don't do assigned seating on that airline.
No, not Southwest. It's a free for all.
Is it really?
It's a free for all. It's chaos, and I can't stand it. I don't care. Like, I know that everybody has a bugaboo about like the people that get on the plane early or want to have their seat early, or why is everybody rushing or getting on and getting off. I want to have a seat. I want to know where my seat is, where I'm going to, not like have to go row by row and be like, do I want to sit here? Do I want to sit here?
You and your wife are sitting in 3 different rows.
Sit here. Yeah, like, okay, we got on late, and now there's a solo seat here and a solo seat there, so that'll be delightful.
Well, and in Southwest, it sounds like there's a reason for you to try to get up front. Like, there's no other, in the other airlines, like, you're in Group A, you're in Group E. There's no reason, get the hell back until your group number's called or your group letter's called. In Southwest, you're all running up to the front, like, if I'm not first, I'll die. Like, oh, just hate that system.
As one of our listener points out, Arizona iced tea, still 99 cents.
Amen, brother.
Still in business.
Have you seen that CEO, by the way?
Still cooking.
He got interviewed a while back on like a 60-minute style.
He's a badass.
He is. He basically was, they were like, I forgot who it was with, but maybe in CBS Morning News, whoever it was like, your prices, they remain unchanged.
Why?
Despite the inflation. Why is that? Because we make money, we own our business outright, it's all profit. What do I need to raise prices on people for?
Hell yeah, brother.
Look at this guy.
This guy is a revelation, man.
He's organized. He cares about the people.
What are we doing, Southwest?
Business Bay needs to be a thing.
As if flying wasn't already expensive enough.
Oh,
the one selling point of your airline is at least we won't charge you for a checked bag as you go on your trip. Now, nope, just kidding.
My daughter wants to go places in the summer, and I'm kind of more, I got to be honest with you, I'm already a nervous flyer, so I'm like seeing these airplane stories every other day, and I'm like, now it's in my head. So I'm like, I'm trying to do more local-ish things, and I'm like, maybe we'll take a nice train ride somewhere 2 hours away.
Take a train up somewhere in Seattle.
Yeah, there you go. There's a big fun trip.
Look at that. Here's a big city. Let's go eat some hot dogs with cream cheese on them.
I love a good train ride. I don't go on the train often, but I love a good train ride.
You a big train guy? We took the train up to a baseball game last summer. That was my first time on a train in a while.
I want to do a long, lengthier train ride, but like I wish we had the bullet train.
Slightly faster train rides.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop
That's
every
where this
45
country's
minutes.
really failed its citizens is not caring about bullet train.
We need bullet trains.
Trains are great.
Yeah, when you take the train up north and you stop at like legitimately every city that you go through. All right, next stop. You're like, really? We're stopping again? Why didn't we just make them drive 10 more minutes? There was another stop right down the road.
Amesville. Next stop, Amesville.
It's like, who the hell's getting on and who lives in Amesville?
Amesville.
Make them go to Tacoma. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Drive up the highway. Catch the train there.
Yelm, why don't you
Yelm.
drive your ass 30 minutes west and go into Tacoma Lakewood?
Well,
Come on, Yelm.
Actually, that's
losers.
kind of why trains exist, because they serve those
I know,
underdeveloped
I know.
or
Stop making
rural
sense,
towns.
Schultz.
Make the rules for me, Schultze, not for thee. Make the rules for me.
sorry,
I want an
guys.
easier train ride.
Boy, I can't think of anything to turn people off more from wanting to travel with you than announcing, hey, we're going to increase prices in a different way.
Yeah, right.
All right, I can't wait to do that.
Yeah, business still struggling, huh? Southwest, you got to raise prices again. Times are tough.
Yeah, don't charge me for my bag. Losers.
Now free to move about the country.
We have a lot to
Ass.
get to in the second hour of the program. Tyson Alger is going to join us for the Daily Ticker as we preview the Ducks in the Big Ten tournament. We had tickets punched. We got NFL notes and news to get to. Loaded second hour. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, and YouTube.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Mixed plates like Grandma used to make if your grandma were from the Big Island. Woodstock, Burnside, Beaverton, or online at ate-oh-ate.com. First on The Fan, Blazers back in action tonight, hosting the New York Knicks at Moda Center after running down to Golden State for a quick second game of a back-to-back. DeAndre Ayton out with a calf strain, while Jeremy Grant listed as doubtful. Robert Williams III questionable. The Blazers only 4.5-point underdogs, though. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. A busy offseason continuing in the NFL. Free agents actually can officially sign with teams at 1 p.m. this afternoon. The San Francisco 49ers moving on former Rams wideout Demarcus Robinson. They grabbed him for 2 years, $9.5 million. Defensive end Joey Bosa agreeing to a one-year deal with the Buffalo Bills for $12.6 million after being released by the Chargers. The Baltimore Ravens bringing in wideout DeAndre Hopkins for 1 year, $5 million in guarantees. And the Atlanta Falcons have signed defensive end Leonard Floyd for 1 year, $10 million. New this morning, the Kansas City Chiefs restructuring the contracts of quarterbacks Patrick Mahomes and defensive tackle Chris Jones. That frees up nearly $49.5 million in cap space. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Grab case and football. That's what Maryland does.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Are you a big man? Huh? I'm talking to you. What? You wake up in the morning, start put on my big boy pants. Put on a little jacket, you go. You take your lunch because you got big boy pants on.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
I can say big loud things. I can be demonstrative. This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
We want to look to the future, we've got to tear down the past. Babe Ruth was nothing more than a fat old man with little girl legs.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course the YouTubes, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. Good morning. Hope everybody's Wednesday is going well.
Swinging a foul.
That was Dirt in the car this morning when he had a pothole and his coffee spilt in his lap.
God, yeah, my pants still stink. Don't pull that.
Did you pull the other one from the beginning, Schultze? The cut in the thing in the at the thing.
Oh no,
place.
Thing and the thing and the thing.
I pulled it from yesterday.
And the cut in the thing.
God, I'm rooting for the Steelers to sign Aaron Rodgers. I want to see Mike Tomlin just look at Aaron Rodgers with that stone cold look of what did you just do to me?
With Arthur Smith still as the offensive coordinator, who somehow keeps getting interviewed for head coaching jobs.
Steelers hire Nate Hackett as the assistant quarterbacks coach.
How long does that hiring take?
Alan Lazard is now a wide receiver.
Do they even run the system that Aaron Rodgers
Randall
is
Cobb?
familiar
Is
with?
Randall Cobb coming out of retirement? Get him in Pittsburgh.
That's true.
Want to give you guys a quick heads up because we will get into some college basketball fun here in the second hour of the show. Our annual basketball party is back indeed. George McCoy at Warren Allen, Attorneys at Law, presents Fan Madness Thursday and Friday, March 20th and 21st. It is next week. Contrary to what Dirt was saying yesterday, it is next week.
It
next
is.
Thursday, Friday.
Indeed. Next week starts a week from tomorrow.
Out at the Stadium Sports Bar at A Sportsbook. You can join us on Friday morning, and then Danny, Dusty, Isaac, and Suk will be out there Thursday and Friday. Schultze will be hosting one of those Danny Dusty shows because Dusty's going to be in Mexico with Bonnie Blue at the area's top location for the 2 best days of tournament basketball. Fan Madness is also brought to you by Coors Light and video only. Make every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella run mean more at the A Sportsbook.
You going to be at the same resort? Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out.
Oh, Bonnie and Dusty?
Wait for Dusty's OnlyFans content. It'll come out after the trip.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've met Dusty's wife. I've done Hood to Coast with Dusty's wife.
Yeah.
She would absolutely annihilate Bonnie Blue if Bonnie Blue got within a 10-yard radius of Dusty.
Without a doubt.
She'd pick her up,
Without a doubt.
WWE style,
Yeah.
throw her out of the ring.
Choke slam.
That would not go well for her.
Breaking tables.
I want to watch that, actually.
I'd take a $100 bet right now on Mrs. Hara to win that fight
I
by a
absolutely would.
mile.
Without a doubt.
What happened to Bonnie? I don't know, man. I don't know if she's
I
still
think
there.
old Bonnie's more into the college-age kids currently in Cabo San Lucas.
I think she's kind of in anything phase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Experimenting.
See the other one?
Trying to find myself.
The other one that set the record before her is reportedly sleeping with. She just went the other way,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
senior
yeah.
citizen. listens.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. She's going in to see the old folks' home, which, good for them.
We will get to college basketball at the bottom of the hour with Tyson Alger.
Yep.
Chauncey Billups won a basketball game last night. Nobody's talking about it.
What? I thought
know.
they'd lost 4 in a row.
No,
I'm confused.
They won.
Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it.
And for some reason, Bobby Hurley's coming back to Arizona State, and I'm not understanding at all what Arizona State is doing there.
Yeah, they've made a lot of bad hires over the years and a lot of weird commitments, and this is one that just, what are we holding on for?
Doesn't track with the new administration.
No, it does not.
Seems like they were doing everything very smart, and then they made this stupid decision. So we'll get into all that today. And we got some NFL notes, obviously, to talk about. I want to start the second hour with this. Oregon State won the WCC tournament yesterday. They
did.
Lady Beavs.
Yes, they did.
And they didn't have the best season, but they went into that tournament. They beat the 1-seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs in the semis. And then they knocked off Swag's Pilots yesterday in the championship. Slow start for them. The Pilots' defense was tough. They couldn't hit shots. And then the second quarter happened, and they overtook the Pilots, took a double-digit lead. The Pilots fought back at the end. They had a great year. But the Beavs ended up winning their one season in the WCC conference after not having their best season. Now, they were absolutely ravished by the portal, by the conference blowing up. They had to get put in the WCC, not by choice. They lost 6 players from their tournament team last year.
Yep.
They had 4 players commit to coming back, which was huge, but those players didn't play a whole lot. And then they had to pick up a D3 player. They picked up some other players out of the portal that weren't as big on the radar. And I'm just going to say this flat out, not hyperbolic in any way. I looked at the numbers.
Give me the take.
Yesterday, I think Scott Rueck accomplished greatest basketball coach, period, in Oregon State history.
I'm not going to disagree with you at all there.
He has now as many tournament appearances as Ralph Miller had.
Yep.
His winning percentage is .652. Ralph's was .659.
Yeah, how many Final Fours did Ralph have?
0.
Okay, how many Elite Eights?
0.
Okay.
He has as many regular season championships as Ralph Miller, and he had to do yesterday, and Ralph didn't need to do this, but he had to do that yesterday, and that was not something that anybody thought that they would do.
Nope.
After everything that happened to them last season. So Beaver fan is having a lot of fun with build the statue. And I agree with that, but I think it's largely more fun when you can wait for them to retire.
Nah, do it now. What the hell? Let the guy rub the bald head of the statue every time when he's walking in for good luck.
I'd be A-okay with that. It's such a cool story, even if you don't follow women's hoops. And I totally understand people in our audience do not, and that's okay. The cool part of this story is everything I just highlighted. This dude was an Oregon State student in the 90s.
Yes, he was.
He watched Gary Payton play. He grew up on Ralph Miller. He had to work his way up from little George Fox. Gets this job, by the way, from one of the worst runs in modern college basketball with everything that happened to that women's program. It was run into the ground and blown up. And he comes in, and he's had this career, 15 seasons, just a remarkable career for him so far. As a coach, he's been at Oregon State. He's 316 and 169. The Beavers punched their ticket, and I'm just going to say it flat out. Ralph has more, I think, maybe cachet with older Beaver fans. He's got the Gary Payton SI cover, the Orange Express stuff. Scott Rueck yesterday, in my mind, cemented himself as the best basketball coach in Oregon State history.
The 4 years leading up to him being hired there, their records overall, this is obviously back in the Pac-10 days because Rueck took over, I want to say, in 2010, so he's been around for a minute now. They went 9-19, 12-19, had one random year where they won 20 games, and then back to 11 wins. And they brought Scott Rueck in. It took him 1 year, had a 21 season, a little bit of a down year, and then it has been smooth sailing ever since. You went to the tournament 6 consecutive years. Then the tournament was canceled in 2020. You were heading for a 7th straight year.
7.
And then it would have been 8 with 2021. Yep. Had the slight, kind of dip a little bit after that run. And then obviously last year into the, I believe, Elite 8 is how far they went.
Yep.
It is remarkable. When you look at what he was able to do this year, they returned only 2 starters, to your point. They had to add 7 new players to their roster throughout the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. None of them played any significant minutes at a Division I program. So you weren't going and rating like, hey, bring in this player who averaged 17 points per game. you were finding diamonds in the rough. You were finding people who were not talked about or undiscovered, and they started the season 2-5, which nobody was surprised by that. They were supposed to be terrible this year. They lost their entire team from last year, and all the gals that you pointed out yesterday have gone on to schools and have had really good runs this year for their respective teams.
And they're in the tournament with their respective
teams. A lot of them
teams.
are in the tournament, right? Started 2-5. They didn't get over 500 until February.
Yeah.
They were under 500 until a month ago. And now you look up, and they took down some of the better teams in the conference, and obviously beat Portland this year, who, their net rating wasn't great, but they were 29-4 on the season.
They gave Portland their first loss of the season at Portland, and that was like there it is. There's the coaching.
Here it comes. They held them to 4 points in the second quarter, and that was the story. They got off to a slow start, held them to 4 points in the second quarter, and they were off and running after that. It was so fun to watch that yesterday. Look, Beaver fans have been kicked in the balls too many times to count over the last 16 months, and they will probably continue to be kicked in the balls in the coming months. Having these little victories along the way, this is one program that you feel incredibly proud of. I thought his comments after the game were awesome. He talked about how tough this last year has been and all the players that he lost, and his perspective on it was you just almost want to give him a standing ovation of like every time one of those kids came into my office and said, hey, I'm transferring, he said he was heartbroken by it, but he totally understood it. He's like, I can put myself in your shoes. I know why you're making this call. He said he never contemplated it because, to your point, he is a lifelong Beav, and he loves the program, and he bleeds orange and black, and he's always understood the fans' anger at it, of all the players that bailed, and so he's been in this weird kind of in-between of understanding where the fans come from because he is one of the program, while also understanding where his players are coming from because
it's the world.
It's the world that they live in now, and he has done nothing but continue to build culture and adapt, and here they are going back to the NCAA tournament.
Final couple points. Ralph Miller won 2 times the Pac-10 Coach of the Year. Scott Rueck has won 2 times Pac-12 Coach of the Year. And NCAA tournament records in 10 years, Ralph Miller was 5-11. Scott Rueck is 17-8 as he goes into another tournament. So we'll see if he builds on that resume. So tournament success is in Rueck's favor. I would say just in general, you can nitpick. You can point to a couple things. If it's Ralph Miller forever, whatever, totally get it. Help kind of establish basketball in general in that area. I thought yesterday, I was like, I think he's the best coach ever.
Going back to the tournament.
Men or women, it's crazy how good he is.
Yes.
The buy-in he gets, the selflessness. I'd love to talk to him. I'm going to reach out and see because they got selection coming up for their tournament as well.
That'll begin a week from Friday is when the women's tournaments begin.
I would love to get him on and just kind of go through it because he was interesting to see in the celebration. He's so happy for his players, but also just like, I think he's just like stunned and taking it all in of like,
oh my God.
How about this? Wow.
He said he's had moments of that with his team this year where he's always loved the group because of how hard they've played, and it's a group that can be embraced by the fan base, despite the fact that they got games where they just can't stop turning the ball over or they're shooting 20% from 3. He's always been in love with this group. And to the tournament success point, I bring this up a lot with Altman, and I think it's a calling card of his. He's never been in the NCAA tournament and lost his first game. Every time he's been, he's won at least one game. Now, he won a national championship.
That matters to me.
But every time he goes, it's not like, all right, that was it. All right, one day and you're done. The same thing goes for Scott Rueck. Every time he's been in the tournament, a couple times he's been out in the second round, but every single time he's won at least one tournament game.
Chauncey Billups won a game last night.
What?
But the Blazers didn't play. I want to talk about this next on The Van.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, Tyson Alger of the I-5 corridor is going to join us, Dirt. I'm excited. You had to book that. I had a crazy,
You had a long day yesterday.
busy day yesterday.
That happens from time to time. If Tyson Alger's ever on the show, just know Sprague needed me to book a guest. I don't got a lot of contacts.
Yeah, let me,
Sprague's the contact guy here. He's got all the phone numbers. He's the guest booker on the show. And so when he asked me like, "Hey, Dirt, can you help me out here? Can you find somebody?"
I even gave you a name. I said, "Hey, reach out to this person."
I DM'd a guy. He didn't respond to me in an hour. I panicked. I'm like, "Oh God, I gotta book a guest. What am I gonna do?" And I scrolled through my phone and I said, "Who do I know that I can text that's gonna respond to me and come on tomorrow morning?" Tyson, man.
To that point,
Old faithful.
if I'm ever filling in for you guys last second, expect Eric Gunderson of Blazer Banter.
That's
to be
your guy.
on as
That's
well,
your go-to
because-
guest
dude,
book.
We
Yeah.
went to high school together. He will absolutely at 11 o'clock at night respond to a text.
Dude,
so hell
we
yeah.
might need off-season Schultzy high school stories with Eric Gunderson.
Well, were you guys friends like that?
I mean, we were.
Did you know each other?
Yes, we
knew
definitely
of
did.
each
We were
other.
Yeah.
teammates, like in football, but he was.
Oh, I want to
more
know
the
about
athletic
Gundy's
crowd.
football.
I was more the
Acumen.
music crowd.
Was Gundy a good athlete in high school?
Probably slightly better than I was at football. But
Okay.
that's not saying much because we both kind of sucked.
The pride of Salem.
Yeah.
Whenever Schultzy fills on the show, I feel like I get more questions in my personal life about somebody I work with than like Schultzy drives a lot of those. So what's that guy about? What's that guy like?
I had a friend ask
get
me
a lot of those.
quite literally
Dude,
yesterday.
Schultzy, man, we love him.
Kind of weird
Appreciate
things
that.
you think that guy's going to do on his first class flight to Hawaii. And I went, man, I mean, you can only imagine.
Well, we have a little cubby hole that's going to be open.
The interesting thing about
Guys are-
you, Schultzy, is
what are
how.
they clapping? Is the movie over? What happened? What happened in there?
Dirt. Really?
They were watching a movie. What do you want from me?
Sounds like they were making one. The interesting thing about you is I get people that ask how old you are, and I either get the opposite. I say your age, and then they go, "Oh, I thought he was 21."
I wish.
And then I also get, "Oh, I thought he was a weirdly angry 45."
That's hilarious.
He's right in the middle of that.
Yeah, the
Right
average out.
slap in the middle
Right
there.
slap down and dab in the middle.
I've got like angry young guy and angry old guy going on.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
I'll
A
take
little bit of
it.
anger on each side. We love when Corn Pop gets going.
I want to give my flowers to Mark Few for what they did yesterday, beating the Fighting Bill Gaffneys of St. Mary's. Before we do that, though, we need to give standing ovation. Chauncey Billups won a basketball game last night, not coaching the Portland Trail Blazers. Great job, Chauncey.
He's that good of a coach
He's that
that he
good.
won a game without coaching.
Yes.
Okay.
This was Shaquille O'Neal. TNT's Tuesday night action has Shaq on that broadcast.
I wonder how he feels about having to do the Tuesday night stuff. You think he likes it?
$12 million.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, but the other guys
Shut up.
also make $20 million a
signed
year,
a
and they
new
only got to work
contract.
1 day a week.
Chuck makes a little more.
Yeah,
and I
like
think
20,
Kenny
as
is
he should.
grandfathered in, and Ernie,
Ernie's Ernie.
Ernie's Ernie.
We
He's
love
been
Ernie.
there since 1980 freaking
He's
eight.
been around a long time.
Funny thing is, the Tuesday crew collectively knows more about and watches the NBA and likes it, versus the Thursday crew is, let's give offhand commentary, make fun of ESPN for only dabbling in LeBron Lakers stuff
Talk about fat women in San Antonio.
while we play a game saying, can Charles Barkley name the team this player is on? No, he can't because he watches only hockey. Shaq last night,
I mean, that's not a bad call, though, by the way. Hockey's great.
the Pistons, it's not a bad sport. The Pistons played the Hornets. Or no, the Wizards, excuse me.
The tanking Wizards.
And they won the game. Cade Cunningham had a great game. I want you to take a listen. Shaquille O'Neal giving his takes on Cade Cunningham and the Pistons, and then being called out for something, and then listen to how it kind of ends. It's very interesting to me.
You said something very interesting about Cade Cunningham. Great player now at this stage. He plays at his own pace. Anybody that can consistently play at their own pace and put up numbers, it's a great player. I like the way he's playing. I like what Chauncey is doing. Those guys play hard. My favorite player on that team is Isaiah Stewart. Big body, hard guy. Like to knock people out, push people
No, I can't
around.
let this go.
Put us
Like
up there.
who's doing it? You said Chauncey?
Chauncey's the coach, right?
Okay.
Portland. No. He coaches
Like, I can't let this go.
JB Bickerstaff.
Yeah, Bickerstaff. That's what I mean. Hey, you know, look, first of all, I don't watch Detroit. How about that, boo-boo? I don't watch him. So,
let that go.
I messed up.
I like
Okay.
what Chauncey's doing.
I made a mistake.
It is a constant battle I have with basketball friends. I like that show. It is a great show.
It's very entertaining.
Probably the greatest sports studio show of all time. I will always argue, probably to my final breath, part of the problem with that league is that the Thursday crew quite literally does not watch or care about the NBA.
Yeah.
And you just had the example of examples where Shaq is giving his thoughts on Cade Cunningham. His favorite player is Isaiah Stewart, mainly because I bet he saw a TikTok of Beef Stewart trying to fight.
Yeah, pushing Steph Curry the other night.
And then proceeds to tell you Chauncey's got those guys balling, gets called out by somebody who actually watches and likes basketball, and Candace Parker.
Good for Candace for immediately jumping in.
Yeah.
And then pivots and says, well, I don't even watch the Pistons. It is the best summation of that Thursday show that could possibly happen last night on television.
That is a Pistons team that is currently 6th in the Eastern Conference, and I would argue has a pretty good chance. Now, they might move up or down. They're right there with Indiana and Milwaukee, so we'll see what seed they end up getting. I think they got a pretty decent chance of winning a first-round playoff series.
If Brunson doesn't come back for the Knicks,
I would pick them to win that series right now. I also have not watched a lot of Pistons basketball, but I'm also not paid as a national analyst to cover the NBA.
He's
So
also
there's
not paid $12 million.
There's a slight difference there. It is hilarious to me. The irony out of all this was we are not even a week removed from a lengthy rant on TNT by Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Going at ESPN because all they want to talk about is the Lakers and the Warriors. That's all ESPN wants to talk about. That's all Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. Smith. All they want to talk about is the Lakers and Warriors. And Charles goes on this long rant of, man, this is what's wrong with the league. Why aren't we paying attention to Oklahoma City? Why aren't we paying attention to what's happening in Cleveland? Why aren't we talking about these teams more? Detroit is literally in that category. They are an incredible story. They've lost 20 consecutive games last year. They have taken a massive jump. They are all but a lock to not have to be in the play-in in the Eastern Conference. They're actually in the playoffs as a top 6 seed. They might get home court advantage with a number 1 overall pick in Cade Cunningham, who has come into his own. They are one of the best stories of the NBA season, and an analyst on a network who is covering the league doesn't know who their head coach is.
He also offered a take and then got called out and then proceeded to go, well, I don't watch them. And it's like, but you were just giving takes on.
Yeah, this happens a lot in other sports, and people mask it because this goes on a lot in like the NFL. But for the people who are like true insiders and the network shows that matter, like imagine Dan Orlovsky being like, well, what do you want from me? I didn't watch any Titans games last year. Like, just imagine that happening in the NFL. It would never happen.
See, making a mistake is okay. Like yesterday,
everybody makes mistakes.
Me and Schultz were talking about Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
And I read Football Reference wrong like an idiot.
The stats, yeah, of one team
How
to
many
the other.
games played?
Right.
And I can say, well, I read that wrong. I'm an idiot. I still watch Devontae Adams.
Yes.
So we can still go back and forth of like, how good will he be as a Ram versus what I think versus what it is another thing to just entirely give an opinion, get called out for it, and then just go, well, I don't watch them. Like, well, then what are you giving an opinion on it for?
And I think it's made that much worse when, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago when it was announced that Shaq just re-signed that new deal with TNT or whoever the hell's going to be.
Well, they're going to be on
him.
ESPN.
They're going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
ESPN.
So,
That
but
is
he's
gonna
getting, what, 12, 15 million to keep talking basketball, which apparently he doesn't watch. And I think when you're asking, well, why don't fans watch the NBA? If the highly paid analysts aren't watching it and their bosses apparently don't care, they just want to sign these guys for the entertainment
fun
value.
show.
Well, it's a
Yeah,
fun
it's
show, but
entertainment.
you're asking the question. I'm not saying it's not a fun show, but when you're asking the question, why are people tuning into NBA games? And your analysts can't even answer that question themselves about why they don't want to watch it.
But they just constantly tell you it's a terrible product and it's not fun and it's boring and
but
they
doesn't
just
it,
constantly complain about it. It's
Yeah.
just like it's literally grumpy old men on television, and that's a funny movie.
It is.
but doesn't it come across as embarrassing in moments like this?
I don't see. That's the thing about it. I think. Yeah, I guess if it's highlighted the way we're highlighting it, but I also think people just, Shaq's just being real, man.
just
Like,
being funny.
I don't watch Pistons either. Instead of just going,
That's stupid.
well, but it's true.
That pisses me off.
Well, it doesn't need to piss you off. But like, Dirt's point is accurate. Imagine Marcus Spears
Yeah.
on NFL Live.
Mina Kimes. Oh, I didn't
good
watch the
point.
Rams at all last year.
Yeah, just
what?
like, what do you want from me? I thought it was Shanahan.
Wait,
not
we're
McVay.
talking about the Vikings right now? Who cares? Well, I didn't watch the Vikings play any football.
If it was the NFL and that happens, or I would even venture to say college football,
You would lose every ounce of credibility.
people would absolutely eviscerate you. It's why people laughed at Stephen A. when he did the Hunter Henry thing.
Yes.
Like, what?
Because Stephen A. does this. Stephen A. doesn't watch the NFL,
No.
and he then just shoved down our throats on Sunday. I mean, he watches primetime
watches the
games,
Cowboys
I'm sure.
lose is what
Watches
he
the
does,
Cowboys
yeah.
lose, and he has a funny video smoking a cigar making fun of them. But then he's got to be on our NFL Sunday countdown. We got to get more of that.
Pistons. Breaking news. Fun watch. Fun
Chauncey
little
Billups,
team.
dude.
Incredible job.
Good little coach.
It's not bad.
Good little coach.
To be able to go from Portland to Detroit.
After losing to Detroit the other night.
And then fly back
Yeah.
and get ready for like the Knicks coming to town.
That's a tough run right there.
A lot of credit to Chance on doing that. That's a grind.
I think we need to extend Chance.
Pick up that option.
He's getting wins for 2 teams this year. It's impressive, man. Give him a new deal.
As just a pure basketball fan, they're still going to be around as a show because ESPN is just going to say, yeah. And I don't know how much ESPN's going to change that show, by the way.
Probably not much.
I mean, they're going to shove Stephen A. down our throat on that show so we get more of that. But yeah.
But are they going to go to commercial breaks the way they do? Because that's their problem with basketball shows. Those shows are terrible. It's like, hey, Bob Myers, Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A., we've got 1 minute. Each of you give a take in the 1 minute, and we'll be right back with a commercial break.
That's all you get.
TNT doesn't do that.
No.
So if they lay out and let them do their show, it's not going to change much. I'm curious to see it, but as just a pure basketball fan, I am so excited for the NBC Amazon stuff because I don't think that they're going to have this. They're not going to have the grumpy old men at the porch telling you this sucks. I think they're going to have people who genuinely love it, care about it, are passionate about it, get the Zach Lowe's of the world, and it's just going to be ball. And if you like it, cool. And if you don't, whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have to like it.
Each their own, man. We can all like whatever sports we want to like. But I think for the people who truly do love the sport, you do them a disservice with people like that, with stuff like this.
Tyson Alger is going to join us. The Ducks getting ready for the Big Ten tournament. That starts tomorrow, 9 a.m. Early tip for them in the Big Ten. Are they going to win their first game and give us an early Friday off as well?
Hey.
We'll talk with Tyson about the Ducks' Big Ten tournament chances. We'll get into some NFL. There's a lot of news and notes to get to in the National Football League. One team making pretty big waves, and we haven't talked about them yet, coming off a pretty good season. So we'll get to some NFL stuff as well. Dirt and Sprague back with Tyson Alger in the Daily Ticker next on The Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Good or bad weather, the golf course is always the driest around. Download the Langdon Farms app today to get all the latest news and specials. First on The Fan, a busy offseason in the NFL continuing. Free agents today can officially sign with teams at 1 p.m. The San Francisco 49ers bringing in former Rams wideout DeMarcus Robinson. It's a 2-year, $9.5 million deal for him. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they've signed running back Kenneth Gainwell to a 1-year deal. The Tennessee Titans signing wideout Van Jefferson for a 1-year deal as well. Defensive end Joey Bosa, he's headed to the Buffalo Bills. They're giving him a year and $12.5 million. The Baltimore Ravens are bringing in wideout DeAndre Hopkins for 1 year and $5 million in guarantees. And the Kansas City Chiefs restructuring the contracts of quarterback Patrick Mahomes as well as defensive tackle Chris Jones. That frees up nearly $49.5 million in cap space. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
I'm Jeff Jr., founder and CEO of Trade.
Before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents The Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Take a break with Pelican's Beak Breaker, the Northwest's favorite double IPA. Pelican Brewing Company. Cheers, fellow fanatics.
All right, Daily Ticker time on a Wednesday, brought to you as always by our good friends at Pelican Brewing. Their new Beak Breaker Double IPA. Take a game break with bold hops, a crisp finish, and a brew that never misses. Pelican Brewing, independent and always on point. The Big Ten tournament, did it begin yesterday? Does it begin today? I don't know, when all these lower seeds start playing. I know Oregon plays tomorrow, and it's soon to be underway.
When does Washington play?
I don't believe they're in the field this year, Bob. I don't believe they quite made it. Which then leads me to the question, is Washington good at any sport right now? I know they had a Disney movie in rowing. DeBoer's daughter still plays for the softball team. That's about all I got on their softball team. We'll look that up. We'll get back to it. Joining us now is our good friend, Tyson Alger, i5Quarter, i5quarter.com.
12th in the Big Ten in basketball, so not ladies hoops.
That's not very good. You can give him a follow on Twitter, at Tyson Alger. Tyson, good morning to you. It's been a weird year for Oregon basketball. It went from Dana Altman's aligning Rubik's Cubes early in the season, 16-3. Look out, here they come. Lose 5 in a row, fire Dana Altman. This guy's a bum. He's never won a national championship. Do you know that, Tyson? We need to have higher standards. To then winning 7 in a row, finishing the season 23-8. As we look back and encapsulate what has happened in the regular season before they tip off play in the conference tournament tomorrow, what does Tyson Alger make so far of their first 31 games of the year?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm surprised you guys still aren't celebrating it in the victory of the boys in the boat. You know, that was only in like 1935,
which is a few years ago. Just a few years ago, yeah. Bow down,
yeah,
bow down. Yeah. That was the time to be alive.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating Oregon basketball season because last year, obviously, they go on that run through the Pac-12 tournament and then through the NCAA tournament, and it's all of a sudden the pitchforks are gone and it's Dana Altman's figured it back out. But when you really think of it, like, you know, the Ducks weren't consistently good last year until the end. And then this year, for like the first time in probably 3 or 4 years, they actually scorched through the non-conference route and they put together a list of some pretty quality wins. And it was one of the first times that they've gotten to the regular season in quite a while without kind of like the impending doom of you need to win X amount of games to be considered for the NCAA tournament. Like the Ducks did their work during the non-conference part of this season. They just ran into that wall kind of in late January, early February, where they lost 5 in a row. They lost a couple of pretty quality games at home as well too, and so it just kind of felt like a funk, and it was really easy to kind of go back to hey, Dana Altman's old, he's 66 years old, he's been here for 13 years, and you know you could kind of start to list all those things, and it kind of started to weigh heavier than hey, Dana Altman gets really good towards February and March. And lo and behold, after that 5-game skid was done, like we got right back to what works for Dana Altman. And during the 7-game streak here, where they've won 7 in a row, they capped it off with that win at Washington. Like this isn't a streak where the Ducks have gotten just like hot from 3 or something like that, where it's just maybe a little bit of luck. Like they haven't been shooting great in several weeks, but they're winning with defense, they're winning with rebounding, they're winning with second chance points, and it's a lot of those things that have typically come together during good Dana Altman years, and it's really centered around the play of like Nate Biddle, who I think it was kind of absurd that he was only 3rd team all Big Ten yesterday when that came out.
Yeah.
And then Jackson Shelstad as well too. You know, Shelstad can be a little bit streaky, but he's the type of player that I think, especially when you get into tournament time, if he gets hot, like really look out.
Well, it's interesting, Tyson. They're playing Indiana for the second time in like a week, and so that was actually a pretty good game down in Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people showed up for that one. Good environment. And now they gear up as they get ready for Indiana to kick off the Big Ten tournament tomorrow at 9 a.m. You mentioned Biddle. I agree with you. I don't know how he only got 3rd team. He carried this 23-8 Oregon team. He's been remarkable for them. If they can get him back, that would be huge. You mentioned Shelstad, which may be the answer here, but like if Biddle has his usual game, who is the wild card for Oregon that if they're going to make a run in this tournament, make some noise, maybe have a good NCAA tournament showing, who is the key player in your mind if it's not Nate Biddle for Oregon to do all of that?
Dude, honestly, it's KJ Evans. You know, he was a freshman last year who started a lot of games and kind of took a bit to find his footing. And he's one of those guys that this year has gone back to the bench, has really bought into kind of being that 6-man role. Oregon doesn't have a whole lot of size, and to be able to have a 6'9", 6'10" guy come off the bench and spell Biddle for a little bit, be able to pull down double-digit rebounds in short minutes, to be able to, I think he's 2 or 3 games in a row where he's at least close to double-digit points. It really kind of just reminds me, again, I hate to go down like the route of yesteryear, but every single time that the Ducks have had a pretty good NCAA tournament run, a lot of times it's been because somebody has kind of like swallowed their pride and adjusted to a bench role. I mean, like you can think of even like Jordan Bell and Chris Boucher in the 2016 and 2017 season. So I think being able to have that spark off the bench, to be able to have a guy that has a lot of size that can defend around the perimeter and inside, I think that's really important, because Biddle's going to give you what Biddle's going to give you, but if there's ever a chance that he gets into foul trouble, or maybe Shellstad shots aren't falling, I really think Evans is the guy that can help carry this team.
It's interesting. We're talking with Tyson Alger, I-5 Corridor, covering the Northwest sports scene. Go give him a follow on Twitter at Tyson Alger, and go subscribe to the I-5 Corridor, where he covers the Ducks, Timbers, everything else going on in the local area. I don't want to get too big picture, but I am curious to ask you, Tyson, because you've been covering these teams for a long time. Like, we're a month away from Oregon nearly selling out Autzen Stadium for a spring football game that doesn't matter, but we know the amount of people that will be there, especially if it's a nice weather day. I'm just curious where your head's at on, and they did end the season with a nice crowd on senior night against Indiana, to Sprague's point.
That was a good crowd.
That was really good to see, but there's been a lot of moments this year where I'm turning on games, especially even early, where like when they were on that 16-3 run to start the season,
wins.
like, what? There's nobody here. Like, I'm an alum and I don't even know how to put my finger on it. I'm curious how you put your finger on it, and if the university has been able to figure out why is there such a missing link between the support of one sport and the other?
Yeah, it's if I had an answer to that question, I probably wouldn't be on at 7:30 with you guys this morning, guys. Like I'd have my
call up Rob, give Mullins a call, all right?
Because I mean, like that's truly been kind of the question. I think this is my 11th year during the Ducks, and outside of that nucleus with the Final Four group, like the attendance has always kind of been an issue. And I think some of it is college basketball is so much about the personalities of the coaches, and Dana Altman's one of the best coaches in the world, but I don't think he's ever going to be opening up like a comedy club or something like that sometime soon. He's not the most relatable guy out there, but also if you look at it, I can compare it to last year where, like the Ducks made the tournament and they kind of solved that problem, but they never really played any great games at home last season. If you're going to be bad all year and then turn it around right at the very end, that kind of sets a precedent of, do I really want to go drive 2 hours down to Eugene to watch a basketball game where they may or may not show up? So yeah, it's a bunch of things. I don't think it's the arena. A lot of people like to do this isn't MacArthur Court. It's we're 13 years into this stadium. I think that's kind of a moot point at this juncture. Yeah. But I don't think football helps either, to be honest, because when you're a football team and the university obviously puts so much more resource into marketing football, into getting fans to those games, and just kind of the level of expectation for football. If you buy a ticket to an Oregon football game, you kind of know what you're going to get. And for the last 10 years, it's kind of a toss-up what you're going to get with the basketball scene.
Which is interesting because his record would say, what you're going to get. He's going to end up winning games. It's just
20
a matter
games,
of the season, I guess, when he starts doing that. And also, football's expensive. Can we just call a spade a spade? It's not cheap to go to a football game anymore. Yeah. And so how much money do you invest in football season versus hoops this year? I catch that on TV or listen to the radio call.
The one thing I was kind of surprised about this year, though, is I probably went to 5 Oregon basketball games this year. And the Big Ten fan base travels incredibly well for hoops, and that's something that I didn't remember at all for the Pac-12. I mean, even you had Rutgers fans showing up, you had Northwestern fans showing up, you had Indiana fans showing up, and it's where are these dudes coming from? Are they just coming out of the woods? Do we have a big Northwestern contingent of fans that live out here, or are people actually traveling for this thing? It was pretty mind blowing.
I know you do a lot of Timber stuff, you do a lot of Duck stuff, obviously at the Corridor, but you're also a curious writer, which I'm interested here. Scott Ruick won the WCC yesterday. We talked about it at the top of the hour. I think you can make a pretty easy argument. He's the best basketball coach in Oregon State hoops history. Men or women, doesn't matter. His winning percentage, his conference title accolades, his tournament success, it's a layup, I think, in that argument. Are you at all dabbling with maybe writing something about Ruick and what they did?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of need to, right? Like this is a guy who, everyone's going to stop watching their team for a year because you think they're going to be left for dead, and then you go out and make the NCAA tournament with a completely new roster. Yeah, I mean, it was, like you said, I don't think there's a better basketball coach in the state. There might not be a better coach in the state to be able to take a team that was so elite last year and to be able to at least replicate some of that, especially like so much of what they were good at last year was stuff that you talk about of like a veteran team, of chemistry, of knowing the system and all those sorts of things. For Ruick to be able to turn that around within like a year, I think that's one of the most impressive things that I've seen in this state.
Last one for you, because we do call you Timber Tyson on the show. Evander on the way out. I know that's old news at this point, but we haven't talked to you in a while. What do you make of the start of the year for the Timbers?
Yeah, it's kind of been a rough one because it's one thing to lose a player who was third in the MVP race last year, but they've been very injured to start the season. They're missing leading goal scorer Jonathan Rodriguez, who's going to be out for a few more weeks. Santiago Marino has missed a lot of games. Some of their defenders have missed games. So right now they're kind of a team that's just trying to survive until about mid-April or so. Like it's been kind of hard to find where their goals are coming from. They just lost a pretty dismal game down in Nashville. So this new guy, David DaCosta, can be exciting, but it's just a matter of who's going to be able to get him the ball. And right now that's something that, it's coming along. It's coming along, but I think it's going to be a lot of low-scoring soccer games until the Timbers get the full strength here.
This is why you go to the I-5 corridor. You want coverage on everything in the Northwest? This is where you find it. Tyson Alger, go give him a follow on Twitter, i5corridor.com. One of the few West Coast guests who's kind enough to wake up early in the morning, whether he has hockey or not the night before. Thankfully, no hockey last night, so he was spring as a chicken this morning. Tyson, we always enjoy the time, man. Enjoy watching conference tournaments, and I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. Tyson Alger, the I-5 corridor, talking a little Oregon basketball, mixing in some Timbers talk and a little Scott Ruick conversation.
That's the I-5 corridor in a nutshell.
That's what we got right now. That's what we got right now. The Daily Ticker brought to you, as always, by Pelican Brewing. Break into Pelican's new Beak Breaker Mix Pack featuring their original Beak Breaker Double IPA and the new additions of Beak Breaker Tropical and Beak Breaker Hazy.
Wake the hell up.
It's time to wake up because it's conference tournament time, baby. What do we make of the Big 12's court? Do we like the Louis Vuitton court? Should we talk about that? And everything else tips off today. Will you be watching the beginning of the Big 10 tournament? Probably not, because I'll tell you why. That's next on The Fam.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
Pacers down 3. Halliburton's got the ball. Halliburton rises up. And he hits it. And there's a whistle. Oh my goodness. Tyrese Halliburton hits a 3 and is fouled.
How can you not like Brian Anderson on a sports call? Man, what a good
that
call
guy's
there.
so good, man.
On TNT.
He's the best.
The Bucks lose because Giannis fouls Halliburton with like a second and a half left. He hits the free throw. They win by 1. The Bucks had won 8 of 9. They've now lost 3 straight games.
Very streaky team. Also one of the coolest ways to ever end an NBA. Like, just how cool is that?
An and one.
Like, that's
Larry
the ultimate.
Johnson.
Every time you're down by 3, you're thinking immediately. That was badass.
Who's stinking it up? Giannis on that foul. Hey, March is the best time to upgrade your furnace and AC. Beat the buzzer. Grab a sweet $1,600 off a full system replacement before time runs out. Schedule now at threemountainshomeservices.com. That's threemountainshomeservices.com. Three Mountains Home Services make home services delightful.
Hey, everybody. Sprague here. My friends at
It's crunch time. Let's go! Where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. We got Statter Story coming up at 8:15. It's basically the final hour, so I won't talk about the Louis Vuitton court here in this segment. We'll hold it. Let's hold it for the top of the hour.
We haven't talked about the Commanders at all, but have the Commanders won the offseason?
Oh, we have an off-season winner. They've had a pretty good off-season, pretty good regular season.
Bills got Bosa yesterday.
They did. We don't get the Trump bros down in San Francisco.
It's Trump time.
I don't know why the Ravens wanted Hopkins.
I don't know why anybody wants Hopkins at this point.
No offense. Like DeAndre Hopkins.
Good dude.
Just didn't really do a whole lot.
No, he played with Patrick Mahomes, and there weren't a lot of highlights there. But instead, I will get to this because we kind of skimmed over it earlier in the show.
Sure.
Can we give a nice, quick congratulations to the Gonzaga Bulldogs for winning the West Coast Conference once again?
20th title.
20th time under Mark Few. They have been, I believe I saw the stat, they have been in the WCC final for 28 consecutive years.
Jeez.
I think it's the stat that's out there. Furthermore, now, did you guys watch much of this game last night? Did you see any of it?
I saw the second half because practice.
I didn't watch a ton of it. So
I had practice.
We're on the trust tree. It's okay. Yeah. You know, I filled my WCC cup with Oregon State Portland earlier in the day.
Well, this was a good game.
It ended up being a good game. You want to know the remarkable numbers behind this? So they beat St. Mary's last night to win the WCC again. The final was 58-51. Low scoring, ugly college hoops. The numbers for Gonzaga. They are the only Division I basketball team in the last 25 years, okay? Last 25 years, to score under 60 points, shoot under 10% on three-point attempts with 15-plus attempts.
Yikes.
Yeah, that percentage is correct.
Yikes.
They got out-rebounded by 15 or more and to win the game. In the last 25 years, teams that scored under 60, shot under 10% from three on 15 or more attempts, and were out-rebounded by 15 or more rebounds were 0 for 121. And last night, the Gonzaga Bulldogs did that, and they won the conference tournament.
That is
an ugly basketball game. I didn't watch it, and I know it was an ugly basketball game.
I mean, the score would indicate as much.
The score is close. You can tell, that's a tight. They were legitimately St. Mary's, by the way. You want to know what this was? Combined, the numbers behind this, Gonzaga was 1 for 15 from three as a team. If you're wondering what the percentage is, 6.7%. You know what St. Mary's did from three? They were 0 for 16.
Yeah.
There was one three-pointer made in this game last night.
It's just a bad game.
This is why I can't watch college basketball on a regular basis.
It's not every game, but that's bad.
I don't think college is
bad, dude.
I don't think college is close to the NBA. I know some people disagree with that take.
Bad.
But college is much better. Like, if you watch Alabama play basketball, I don't think, Schultze, you'd have this take. They're like hovering at the hundreds every game.
They score a lot of points.
No, that's true. Just sometimes it's out of control and it looks like 5 Scoot Hendersons on the court at the same time. Like, come on.
But
I like it, but it's
better than
5
that.
out of control kids.
It's better than that.
It's like comparing like one moldy cheese to the other, bro. Sorry. Like, yeah, it's better than a piece of S. Sure.
They were a combined 1 for 31 for 3 in this game. 1 for 31.
That's
but
a
hey,
conference
the Zags won.
championship matchup.
It's bananas. Look, Gonzaga and St. Mary's are better than that. They're both good teams this year. We'll see what they end up doing in the tournament. They're both going to the tournament. It's a 2-bid league. So Gonzaga didn't need to win the game. They would have been in. And St. Mary's didn't need to win the conference. They're already ranked. They're going to go to the tournament either way. It just was funny to see the numbers behind this of how truly awful it was. St. Mary's had a guy off the bench, Lewis, who was 0 for 7 from 3. Like, dude, just stop chucking. Stop shooting. We can't make one as a team. So some ugly numbers last night, but Gonzaga wins another WCC title.
Zags fans
in a
don't
down
care.
year.
They won.
They don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter how ugly it is. You tell me Oregon beats Indiana tomorrow 47-44. You could go 0 for 37 from 3. It doesn't matter. Just win the game.
I mean,
it's win or die.
The Lady Pilots averaged, I believe, 82, they said on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Oregon State held them to 46.
They scored 4 points in the second quarter.
I watched it. It was like unreal.
I felt like I was watching my niece's basketball game. Can we get a shot in here?
I mean,
that was lockdown defense by Oregon State.
You know, that happens, but it tends to be the lowest scoring game, get you more interested.
Yeah.
It's like a field goal fest. Who's going to get the first touchdown?
7-3 is your final. They happen sometimes, and it did. But hey, Mark Few, man, one of the greats, and another win for Gonzaga. They're going back to March. They already were, but they won another conference tournament in the process. Crunch Time brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver online at crunch.com. We got Statter Story coming up 8:15. I love my story. Not thrilled about my stat, but love my story, so we'll get to that coming up at 8:15. We do have a couple of leftover NFL notes from everything that's gone on in the last 2 days. Let's talk a little conference tournament as well. Big 12's got a court that's going to make you feel like you're going crazy, but do we like it? And will anybody watch the beginning of the Big Ten tournament today? It's a loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
We all hear the radio.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs to schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the Portland Trailblazers back in action tonight. They're hosting the New York Knicks at Moda Center. DeAndre Ayton out with a calf strain. Jeremy Grant listed as doubtful. And Robert Williams III questionable. The Blazers only 4.5-point underdogs, though. Tip-off for that one set for 7 p.m. A busy offseason continuing in the NFL. It's a big day today. Free agents can officially sign with teams at 1 p.m. this afternoon. The Niners signing former Rams wideout Demarcus Robinson to a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. The Pittsburgh Steelers are bringing in running back Kenneth Gainwell on a 1-year deal. The Titans going with wideout Van Jefferson, also signing him to a 1-year contract. Defensive end Joey Bosa found a new home in Buffalo, signing a 1-year, $12.6 million deal with the Bills. The Ravens bringing in DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year deal worth $5 million in guarantees. And the Kansas City Chiefs restructuring contracts again, this time quarterback Patrick Mahomes and defensive tackle Chris Jones. It frees up nearly $49.5 million in cap space. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new black 1080 The Fan hoodie, as well as classic long and short sleeve tees. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com.
And how do you enjoy prosperity? Well, you do all the stuff that got you there in the first place.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
All the little things, it's not some deal where I'll get in trouble for this, I'm certain, but
Andy Dirt Johnson,
where instead of playing hard and getting a first down and getting a play, then you want to sit behind a shade tree, eat a fish sandwich, and drink a lemonade with your fat little girlfriend.
And Brendan Sprague.
I'm working on this trademark cough. What do you think? It's getting better, too. Well, then, we marched it downfield.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. R.I.P. to a Hall of Famer in our book. The great Mike Leach. Gone too soon. We miss you. Rufio with a good point at the Fan text line, 503-864-6326.
Yeah.
Schultze is complaining about the quality of the college basketball game while also looking forward to watching the Mariners.
Yeah, that's a misnomer. It's if the Mariners committed 3 errors.
You said it's just teasing, but also that's
Yeah, you're funny, Rufio. I appreciate you, but at the same
you guys
time,
scored
it's
2 runs a game.
They scored 2 runs.
No,
What'd you go for runners in scoring position? 2 for 14 in that game.
I just said even good college basketball teams look like 5 scoots running around turning the ball over. So my equation of that would be like, the Mariners committing 2 or 3 errors a freaking inning. That would be hard to watch.
I mean, look, this was on.
Have you all seen a AA or a single A game? It's pretty hard to watch sometimes.
Sometimes it can be hard to watch.
Yeah, but your team scores like 2 runs a game.
They don't score a lot of runs. There's a lot of bad offense.
Game to watch.
It's not a lot of fireworks offensively.
Chicks dig the long ball, bro.
Chicks dig the long ball.
Well, if you're talking about boring versus like inexperienced, it's apples and oranges. I get it's a funny point. Okay, I get it.
We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Won't be all bad college basketball and Mariners takes, I promise you. Status story coming up in a bit. I do got the NFL leftovers. We'll get to those kind of at the bottom of the hour. Some final moves that we haven't talked about yet, including a couple of defensive linemen finding new homes and one player holding an organization hostage. It's already off to a wonderful start. Let's get to the beginning of conference tournament games, though, in the non-WCC and smaller conferences. All the other big ones, I believe, tip off today or tipped off yesterday, and now continue into today. One guy who lost already and his season has come to an end is Bobby Hurley.
I just don't understand this at all.
The head coach at Arizona State, who I want to make sure I got my numbers right here, so give me 1 second as I pull this up to see.
By the way, only one ranked matchup or one ranked team playing today.
That's all we got?
Yeah.
It's not great.
Cincinnati against Iowa State.
The beginning's not great. So Arizona State played yesterday. First time they lost to Kansas State, 71-66.
Miserable season.
13-19 on the year, 4-16 in Big 12 play. Somehow that was still good enough to make Colorado went 3-17. They just welcome everybody in the Big 12. But Arizona State's season came to an end, and their athletic director came out afterwards and said, Bobby Hurley's not going anywhere. He has been at Arizona State for a decade. He was hired, his first year was in 2015. He has never won an NCAA tournament game.
How many times has he been to the tournament?
3. Yeah. One time he lost in the first 4. The other 2 times he lost in the first round of the tournament.
So the first 4 doesn't even count to me.
No.
So 2. And then didn't win a game.
Look,
he is one of those, I kind of thought that was going to be a home run hire.
Seemed like it at the time. He was good at Buffalo, led them to the tournament at Buffalo.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, here comes a Hurley. Remember him?
Yeah, and maybe it was part of like knowing his name, being familiar, seeing his red ass nature. His dad famously was a red ass in high school, legendary winner. I'm just baffled by this. I'd love to hear the explanation for why this makes sense. Arizona State had a great year, like substantially great year in football.
They did.
Overperformed, built some buzz. They've got excitement now. They've built funding and backing financially up. Why would you, on the heels of that, make this decision of basketball team near bottom in conference, not very competitive, blown out a million times, not winning with this guy for a decade? Why would you run this back?
He's only had 3 winning seasons in his career in conference play. He's been there for a decade.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter the Big 12 or the Pac-12. The dude was terrible.
No.
That's
and the
a
Big
great
12's not. I
job.
mean, we thought the Big 12 was going to be a dominant conference in college hoops, but Kansas had a bit of a down year.
Sure.
It didn't quite have the season that some people were expecting.
But that's a great job.
It's a really good job.
I don't understand.
And you're just going to run it back again next year, right?
Yeah, good luck with that.
James Harden is offering them money for NIL, so maybe that'll turn things around. That's the new trend. We saw Steph Curry get hired as assistant GM at Davidson. He's going to come in and be, help them recruit and sign players.
The best thing about Arizona State basketball in this decade run, I was made aware of yesterday by Pablo Torre. Michael Phelps appearing during an Oregon State Conference game in a Speedo.
Yes, in their student section.
That's the best thing that's happened to Arizona State hoops in the Bobby Hurley era.
Sleeping giant, Arizona State, they say, and that giant will remain asleep as Hurley sticks around. He's also like the Cooper Manning at this point of the brothers. You've had to watch your brother win 2 national titles.
Your dad is already a legend.
Your dad's a legend, and you're like, how's this guy still got a job? I don't understand it. Do we like the Louis Vuitton floor that the Big 12 is using? Look, the whole point of this
make money, right?
is that it's working for Yormark because it's getting people to talk about it. When you turn it on, you can't not see it. He's using a Louis Vuitton court for his conference games, which, all right. So that's how conference tournament play began.
Money is money, Dirt.
Yes, it is.
Is this any different than in the forest, in the trees?
I mean, that floor was horrible. It's slightly better now, but just go back to a normal floor.
You know what this floor reminds me of for some reason? I look at this, and it makes me think of, and I know you haven't watched it, the new Unrivaled League. It's the 3-on-3 women's league.
I've seen highlights of Angel Reese throwing inbounds balls off the backboard.
Yeah, she's not at a good.
Can't make a layup. Yeah,
shooting percentage has gotten a little better. But
she was 5 for 13 last night. I caught some highlights. It was bad.
Not good around the rim.
That McDonald's meal though.
Did you see the dispense?
I went to Mickey D's the other day and I got a large coffee and it said Angel Reese's order.
She's got the Angel Reese's Puffs.
McDonald's has an underrated coffee.
No, you're right. Hot coffee?
I go iced, but yeah.
Well, it's like $1.25.
It's cheap and it's huge and it's like
90% sugar.
What's wrong with that?
The floor just reminds me of that league.
Yeah.
The way it looks.
Yeah. I also thought maybe a little Hornets honeycomb action there, kind of. It looks like maybe an outline of that.
It does kind of have that, too.
It's a little distracting, but, I had to watch Tall Furs forever, so who am I to critique that? Are we going to watch the beginning of the Big Ten tournament? I'll go ahead and answer the question for you. No, we are not. Now, the follow-up question is, Dirt, why are we not going to watch the beginning of the Big Ten tournament?
That was my follow-up question.
I will tell you why you're not going to watch the beginning of the Big Ten tournament. All their games today are on the Peacock.
Oh, yeah, I don't know the Peacock. There's a Bailey.
We're not going to watch the beginning.
Harper and Bailey are on today against USC.
They play USC today at 5:30.
The Fighting Musselmans.
On the Peacock. So you're not going to be watching. You got Iowa, Ohio State on the Peacock at 3 o'clock in Northwestern Minnesota. I'm checking to see what time the Husky game starts.
Oh, that's mean.
Searching.
You can stop searching. There's 3 games.
What time?
Shouldn't take that long.
So I see Northwestern there. I see Minnesota.
Yes.
Iowa, Ohio State.
USC. There's only one more game after that.
Oh, that's it. Oh, did they miss it on here?
They missed it in general.
Did they? Oh, they're not playing in the Big Ten tournament? They didn't make it this year?
Why don't you guys win a game in this conference tournament before you start talking trash, okay?
Technically, we have. We're already in the second round of the tournament, Bob. So okay? In the 8-9 matchup, we're already there.
Can I just tell you now?
Oregon begins their play tomorrow, by the way, at 9 a.m.
There's none of this will be on the show sheet tomorrow. I don't have the Peacock Network. I'm not getting it for this. I don't care about these games.
That was the whole point. Let's put these on the Peacock Network. That's how you get people excited for it.
People
I do technically still have
Pac-12
Peacock
potentially doing this.
They were, and it's funny to see.
I know they've got the bigger, broad landscape on the Their entire first conference tournament games are on Peacock.
The entire first day is on Peacock.
Good luck on that. Good luck.
It is funny to see how all of this stuff has come full circle. Like, we had a listener say, thanks for asking Tyson a Timbers question, because their season's underway, and we don't look. If you listen to the show for a long time, we're not following day in and day out, but we do know that there are Timbers fans that listen, so we try and give you a little bone here or there. Have you seen the reaction from that league to their TV deal, which at one point applauded? The quality of it was great, because I remember watching when they first started, and because at the time we thought maybe the Pac-12 was going to get that Apple TV deal and all their stuff was going to be on Apple TV. So the quality was great. You can switch the broadcast. The league desperately wants. It's been a disaster for the MLS.
Well, it's
and
because
the owners
they charged more. You got Apple TV, and then you had to pay for the league.
You had to pay for the league, not just you paid for Apple TV, so here you go. You have your MLS package. It should just be on. And it's like the league is all the owners are desperate looking for a way to get out of it.
Well, yeah, because
you're not reaching any new fans. The only people who were buying it were already the diehard MLS fans who wanted to go watch their teams play. So if you're an MLS fan, you probably like it. The hard part about the MLS is they're trying to grow their sport, and putting it behind whatever it is, $15 paywall is not a great way to grow your sport.
It's almost a waste of like a potential segment. Did you see there was an interview with Sankey, and he came out and basically is teasing that the SEC is going to follow the ACC model of here, Georgia, Bama, and whoever else, thank you for being good and carrying us. You're going to make more than Vanderbilt. So
he said that they're going to do that?
He's hinting at it.
There's
a Q&A he did with the Post-Courier,
I mean, they
saw,
should, but,
And he basically was like, yeah, we saw that model.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to us. And I'm like, what are the schools that are going to make the most? Is it just the by-year winners, or is it, hey, Bama, Georgia, you guys have been carrying this conference
every year
seemingly. Yeah. LSU thrown in there once in a while.
Yeah. Texas now in the SEC.
Maybe an Ole Miss. I don't know, but I can't wait to see how that's going to sit with some of the other SEC schools.
I mean, that's the way that it should work. The fact that some of these legacy schools are allowed to just live in the land of sugar cones and honey because they are just in the conference when they've done nothing to help that conference is mind-numbingly stupid to me. Vanderbilt, Northwestern, looking at you. Just two off the top of my head. How do they just have a free pass in the future landscape of college athletics, even though they do nothing that matters in the sports that matter?
Oregon agreed to things, so it's already done. It's in ink. But, like, if I'm Mullins, I'm calling the Big Ten, and I'm like, take Northwestern's money right now.
Give me half of that money now.
Here is my account number, and I want you to deposit it because they should not be earning more than us.
We went 13-0. We were the only undefeated team in the regular season, the number one seed in the playoff. And, yes, the playoff didn't go well for us, but you're welcome for all that attention and those eyeballs.
And then tell all those students at Northwestern to write about how we just took their money.
So conference tournaments are underway. We will not be watching the Big Ten today because they're on the Peacock. If you're into the non-Peacock action today, to Sprague's point, you only have one ranked game, but it's on early. Cincinnati, Iowa State is on at 9:30 in the second round.
Cincinnati was good.
Of the Big 12 tournament. That's one of those teams that I wish that they returned to prominence.
Kenyon Martin.
Bring him back, baby.
Yep.
Love those shorts. Let's get to Stat or Story, and we'll do it next on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
It's hard to explain to people if they didn't see it how great Tiger was in a compressed period of time and how close he came to Jack Nicklaus, who by the numbers is the greatest golfer of all time. Yeah. And I'm sure Tiger would say that as well. But the injuries cost him.
Tony Kornheiser on PTI. Tiger Woods undergoing Achilles surgery yesterday, and he wasn't going to play a lot this year, but now he's officially not playing at all this year.
It's a real bummer. I mean, it's just having Tiger in a tournament is great. Injuries did cost him. I would also argue, unfortunately, so did the public affairs stuff.
He did some of that stuff to himself.
Cost him a while there.
Yeah.
So could have kept winning during that period, and maybe he's tied with Jack, but still a hell of a career.
Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. Schedule an appointment with Dr. Mark Wagner. Visit rocpdx.com.
Backed by popular demand.
6,127 students at Adams, 58% of which are girls. So that's 7,107.32 boobs.
Break the news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Is it a stat or a story?
Evidence based on olfactory prowess is inadmissible, in case you didn't know.
This is Stat or Story, a monumental judgment call with Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Come on, do math.
The Fan.
All right, it is Stat or Story time on a Wednesday, as it always is, at 8:15.
And then we got a update.
And then we do have a update.
Fun.
Are we okay to? Can I lead the group here? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm
the
pretty
approval
excited
of
about
everybody.
mine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I just counted my stat, and I don't want to forget it. And if you guys go and then I start thinking of the numbers, I might forget my stat and then have to recount my stat.
Yep.
Your number is 11. 11.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Is it?
What?
Yeah, you're not going to finish Stranger Things? You cancel Netflix.
Yeah, I'm going to give you kind of a hot take.
Don't
if
care.
I really want to watch it, I'll go to somebody's house that I know.
Find a way.
But
That's a lot of time to spend at somebody's house, though.
But it ended with them on a hill overlooking their town. You cannot tell me that you're starting from that point because those kids are 4 years older.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, when was the last?
It was like 3 or 4 years ago.
I'm so sick of shows.
Those
doing
are
that.
grown people now that are not going to look like children, but they're going to address them as
I
children.
saw Bobby Brown on TV yesterday. No longer appears to be a child.
No.
Not even close.
No. Your number is 11.
Okay.
Is it the number of times this year Donovan Clingan has played 25 or more minutes in a game? Okay? 25 or more minutes in a game. 11. Or is it the number of toilets that was clogged on an Air India flight that forced a plane going from Chicago to New Delhi to turn around after 4.5 hours because of the amount of clogged toilets on the airplane?
This is tough here, Schultz. He complains quite often about Donovan not playing 25 minutes. I'm kind of leaning story because it seems absurd, and I think he wants to highlight how fewer games, even at that number, he has played under 25 minutes or over 25 minutes, however you want to phrase that.
Look at you cooking up some Sprague logic over there.
I'm going to go story here.
Go story?
I wanted to go stat. I'm going to go story.
You're going to go story? Schultz?
Simply because a plane like that's probably massive and has a lot of bathrooms, I'm going story as well.
You're going to go story?
Going story.
Story. Double up story.
Yeah.
You are correct. The number of times Donovan Clingan has played 25 minutes a game, you want to guess how many times it's been?
9.
7.
8. Right in between. 8 times this year, and 2 of them have come in the last week. He's played 25 or more minutes in a game this season.
I saw him up close. He can't. It's hard. He was huffing 6 minutes into the first quarter.
Because we never play him 25 minutes, man.
Lord.
How am I going to run 3 miles if I don't run 2 miles first? Let me play.
Bulked up, kid.
Let me get in shape. The story comes to you from an Air India flight. This flight took off from Chicago. They were forced to make an emergency U-turn after allegedly, I don't think it's allegedly, it came out in the reports after they turned around. 11 of the 12 toilets on the airplane were clogged. In 4.5 hours, they plugged 11 toilets out of the 12, and the flight crew decided we only have one working lavatory left. And I believe there was I can't remember how many hours left. You're only 4 hours in from going to Chicago to India, so you still got a long ways to go in order to get there. You only got one functioning toilet. They made the decision. Can you imagine being on, let's take a guess on how long that flight is? What, 16 hours, I'd guess?
Yeah,
maybe?
like that.
At least.
At
Chicago
least?
to...
Yes.
Chicago to New Delhi, India, I believe, was where they were going. Or maybe it's just Delhi. And they had to turn, so you're
14 and a half
14 and a half, okay. You're 4 hours into the flight, and you got to turn around and fly 4 hours back to Chicago, land, get on a different flight, and then you get... So that's 8 hours of flying to end up in the same spot. And in those remaining 4 hours, there's one working toilet on the airplane.
Boy, I thought my dad's story of flying to Hawaii from Seattle and halfway through the flight having to turn around and go back because they had engine problems and then being stuck at the airport for 2 more hours and then having to get back on a different bird and fly 6 hours to Hawaii again.
How do we let these flights, the airplanes, get away with this?
I thought
Air companies get away
that
with it.
was going to be bad. That is even worse than that story.
There's videos, by the way, of everybody
crazy.
standing up and yelling at you. There's no toilets. There's no functioning toilets left. You got one toilet.
Jeez.
I'm going to poop in the aisle.
How tough is that got to be, the guy who's got to take a dump after all of that? There's only one working running toilet, but then you got a long line because that's the only one on the plane.
It's like, can I go in front of you, please, please, please?
Good luck with that. All right, there you go.
Your number is 5.
5.
Your number is 5. Is it the 5th best record in NBA history by an NBA team? Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday won 15 in a row.
15 in a row.
For the second time in the season, by the way. They have 3 winning streaks of 10 or more games this season. Or is it the date in August in which the second naked bike ride is going to occur in the city of Portland?
All right, so like 5th best record through 65 games?
Through 65 games.
Through 65
5th
games.
Best start in NBA history.
Start in
or
NBA history.
August 5th, the date of the second naked bike ride happening in Portland. Yes, there are 2.
I mean, I know obviously the Bulls did it 72-10. The Warriors topped it 73-9. I'm trying to think if, do you know of 2 others, Schultz, off the top of your head that would have been
history of the 70s and 80s?
I don't.
Yeah, that's
I got nothing for you.
a lot of good Celtics
That got off
teams,
to
lot
a
of good
better than
Lakers teams.
55-10 start.
That's really hard to do.
I'm gonna go story here.
I know
I'm
the
gonna go story.
Blazers got off to a great start like the year after they won the championship, and Bill Walton got it.
78, yeah.
I don't know if it was 55-10 though. Did we even play 82 games back then?
Hey, the best record
did.
before he got hurt.
I remember
Yes, they
that.
did.
I know that,
Yes,
and
they
he
did.
would have won the MVP.
I'm
gonna go story.
Yeah, I'm gonna go story as well here. Seems right.
Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday with their 15th straight win. They have 5th best record, 65 games
Into a
through
season.
in NBA history.
Who are the 4 that are better? I know I named 2 of them. Who are the other 2 randoms? You know that off the top of your head? Was it long ago, or is it somebody in the modern time?
They didn't. I saw it on the ESPN story because
Okay.
I had heard it on SportsCenter last night. I didn't see the other 4 in that. Obviously, the Bulls and the Warriors would be in on that, and I'm sure you could find the other 3.
Yeah.
So 5th. No.
Okay.
The date of the second naked bike ride.
They were all Bulls teams, by the way. Or no, one was the Bucks in the 70s.
Well, the Warriors have to be in that.
So the Warriors were number 1. They were they did a list through 70 games, so you're just extrapolating out. The Warriors 63-7, Bulls 62-8, Bulls 61-9, Bucks in 1970 59-11.
No, the date of the second naked bike ride in Portland will be August 9th. Now, this is an interesting little side story locally. We have the Portland naked bike ride.
We do.
Which has been our own weird, keep Portland weird thing where people wear pasties or they put that butt on a seat. However,
Let it go.
there's a world naked bike ride.
Yes.
And they're hosting it in Portland because they have Portland officials.
We got multiple naked bike rides?
So the second naked bike ride takes
too many.
place 2 weeks later of the original first one, August 9th.
It's too many naked people.
This has had led many people. This is a controversial thing to be
Yes, it
happening
is.
here.
Yeah.
It already raises red flags for some who don't believe in public nudity.
Didn't I just tell you guys yesterday that you don't have to go to a strip club to see some up tops? Like, it's pretty easy here around Portland. A lot of events to do so.
I think that's why I think it's more controversial for kids who are looking out their window and saying, "Mommy, what is that?"
Worried about hygiene and just having 2 in a year in general in our city is leaving many to wonder, why is this happening? There's a really good write-up on it on the Willamette Weekly website about how this has led to hurt feelings and backstabbing. So if you miss it, there's going to be 2 naked bike rides.
It's too many. 1 might be too many, but 2's definitely too many. My favorite naked bike ride story is one time the naked bike ride went down my parents' street in Selwood. This is years ago, in front of their house, and they're like, "Hey, look at that, a bunch of naked people on bikes." And one of their neighbors had a pile of bark dust, like out front of their house that they were waiting to, slowly starting to spread across their lawn and everything. And one of the naked bike riders crashed into the pile of bark dust.
Ow.
Slivers everywhere.
Just
Ow.
Yikes.
Yeah, have fun with that.
God in heaven. Okay, my turn?
Your turn,
All
Schulte.
right, I'll try to wrap this up pretty quickly. Your number this morning is 80 million.
80 million.
And we're talking dollars in both instances, so I guess we can just say $80 million. Is it the number of millions less than the Angels that the Seattle Mariners are spending on their payroll?
Oh, no.
Or Is it the size of the now past Gene Hackman's estate that must be divvied up amongst his kids?
So are you rounding in any instance here, or is this a flat 80 mil?
This is a flat 80 mil. I am not rounding for what this is pertaining to.
I'm going to go story here. I cannot buy in good conscience that it's exactly 80 million difference in salary. If is it 79 and change? Is it 81 and change? 80 and change? Sure. 80 exactly across the board with zeros? I'm not buying that, so I'm going to go story here.
Pretty good logic. It's unquestionable that the Angels are spending more money than them. Mike Trout makes a lot of money. Anthony Rendon, who has been one of the worst contracts in the history of professional sports, is still being paid by the Angels and now out for the entire season, I believe.
Probably the second worst contract in sports history.
Yeah, it's in the conversation.
Deshaun Watson's a thing.
Deshaun Watson still exists. That is true. Just because I'm an idiot, I'm going to go against your logic, and I'm going to say that this is a stat.
No, it would be the stop. Dang it, I don't have my sounders up there. Sorry, Dirt's wrong, Sprague's right. So it is actually the story. So $80 million would be the size of Gene Hackman's estate. We'll get to that here in just a second. But the Seattle Mariners are spending a significant amount of money less than the Angels. It's not $80 million. It's $52 million. And it's not just Rendon and Trout. Mm-hmm. They handed out contracts this offseason to Yusei Kikuchi, to Jorge Soler, to Kenley Jansen.
Jorge Soler signing with the Angels,
I mean, they signed guys for like $40 million just this offseason in total salary. And the Mariners just kind of poo-pooed at that. So pretty funny. Not quite $80 million, but it sure feels like
a fun product to
watch.
Fan.
But Gene Hackman, interesting story about his estate. So, of course, him and his wife recently passed away in some pretty sad circumstances at their New Mexico home.
Crazy coincidence the way all that stuff happened.
And then, obviously, now with the family up for this $80 million estate is what Gene Hackman's net worth is being estimated as, at least in articles. His kids are going to have to divvy that up, but it doesn't sound like they're going to have to fight with the estate or anybody that's attached to the recently deceased wife of Gene Hackman. Pretty crazy, because when you're kids of, a very, very rich person, a lot of that money usually goes to the spouse first. But there's this weird instance where if you pass within 120 hours of each other in New Mexico, it's considered simultaneous. So even within 4 days, it's a simultaneous death. But because his wife died 10 days before him, technically that money will go past her and right to the kids, so they won't have to fight. There's not going to be any issues in court, and it's a pretty crazy situation that if he would have died first, it would have been a lot crazier and a lot hairier in court.
Maybe it's because I grew up in a trailer park. I just find estate, money, and all of that stuff, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was
Divvy
just
it up
fascinated
evenly.
by how much
somebody
he
going to
made.
get greedy. Whatever.
Yeah.
If you're more concerned
It's
about
very
the
weird
money
when that
from it,
stuff happens when somebody dies.
I think it's gross.
Very, very strange.
I think it's gross.
There you go. Sadder story every Wednesday. Well done, everybody. Well done. Good performances, good jobs, good efforts. I like the effort today. Let's get to a couple of lingering notes out of the National Football League as we wrap up free agency. One player is already holding a team hostage. Do we have a winner? One key defensive lineman has signed. We'll kind of try and put a bow on some of the things that have happened in the last 2 days. Next, but first, it's us with a update.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
All right, this update is brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. My favorite animal, guys, is the koala. So I wanted to give you a couple of koala fun facts this morning.
No. He's stepping in your territory.
No.
He's wading into your waters.
You're the animal.
Let's see who's got the better animal fact. I'll be the arbiter of
I had
this.
a 2-for-1 day. Oh, but you go ahead with your koala one. Go.
All right. Well, I love koalas not only because they're cozy, but they can sleep 18 to 20 hours a day because their diet is low in nutrition and high in fiber. So they get sleepy just all the time. They're a protected species because they were once hunted for their fur. Thankfully, now they are not. They can only swim short distances. I'm surprised that they can swim at all. But essentially, other than that, they're kind of useless. So cute, sleep a lot, don't really have much of a diet, and I still love my koalas. So there you go.
You also look like a koala. Here's a 2-for-1 for you in the animal update. There was an extinct penguin called the Colossus penguin. It was as tall as LeBron James.
What?
That would be terrifying.
And honeybees can flap their wings 200 times per second.
That's a lot. It's a lot of flapping.
Per second.
Love that.
I saw this in the news recently, and I got to admit, I probably would check it out. Not proud of it, but I probably would. R. Kelly is serving a 30-year prison sentence. He's been in prison for 3 years. He is claiming in his 3 years in prison he's recorded 25 albums. My mind's telling me no.
But my cellmate.
I mean, I would. It's good. That's what I got.
A bust out the jail closet. I don't know. All right. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Curtain missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99.5 FM HD2. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Went a little long there in Satter's story. It'll happen from time to time. I chuckled at this headline that I saw. It's already beginning. He's not even playing for the team yet, but we're already there. You know, the reports out of Pittsburgh from multiple around the organization are saying that Aaron Rodgers is holding the Steelers organization hostage.
He's holding them hostage?
He's holding them. He will not give them an answer. They have an offer on the table. He will not get. They don't know what else to do. They don't.
What?
Can we go get another? Do we go get Russell Wilson back? Justin Fields is gone. Where do we go? If Aaron Rodgers, let's say he signs randomly with the Giants, then you're just basically back to, okay, I guess Russell Wilson's our guy again.
I ask you right now, the Steelers call you and say, Andy, we've heard your takes in Portland.
We love your takes. We love them.
What would you do if you were us?
I mean, I'd probably pay Aaron Rodgers. I know. I don't feel good about it. Makes me feel
already
dirty.
Causing trouble
Gives me
by
the
not
heebie-jeebies.
signing. And you want to do that?
I want to do that.
Why do you want just to keep winning?
I give him a 1-year deal.
Cool.
And I would draft a quarterback in the probably not first round, but I draft a quarterback in the second round. Who's that next guy? Give me a Dart. Give me a whoever else is on the board. Tyler Shuck.
First.
He's gonna shove it.
You want Tyler Shuck?
I'd take a flyer on somebody. Who's the guy in my scouting and evaluation that I love the most? That's not in that first round category, and I'd take one of those guys and pray that he can turn into something.
I would actually kind of retort with, I don't think teams operate that way. And do you trust that evaluation? Because they thought Kenny Two Gloves Pickett was the guy.
Yeah, teams make a lot of mistakes at quarterback.
I don't know what they do. I think they're going to end up.
Well, this is my
sign
regime
Rodgers.
now. I'm now in charge of the Steelers. They've hired me, so I wasn't in the regime that drafted
I ain't
Two
waving
Gloves.
that terrible towel based on what you just told me.
Come on now.
I don't want that guy mentoring anybody.
Don't you worry. We're going to win 9 games next year and make the playoffs and be above 500.
You probably will, actually. Where does Russ land then?
That's a good point. Somebody said you don't have a second rounder. You got traded for DK. That's touche. Third round pick. With my third, I didn't make that trade. I wasn't in the room with that trade.
You got Jalen Milroe.
I'm inheriting all of this. I will use my third round pick on Dylan Gabriel.
Would you rather have Tyler Shuck or Jalen Milroe?
Tyler Shuck.
Jalen Milroe?
I would.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I go Milroe.
Can Jalen Milroe be better than Justin Fields? Justin Fields was an elite college quarterback.
Can Tyler Shuck be better than Kenny Pickett?
I don't know. But I think he's better at throwing the football than Jalen Milroe. And that's a pretty key thing to do in the NFL. Because I've watched them play.
I'm going to look up. I'm curious.
Look up their numbers. Look up the numbers. Give me the numbers. Give them to me.
Tyler Shuck and Jalen Milroe.
I mean, look, they're not in a good spot. This is why the Steelers are in a rock and a hard place situation. They're not bad enough to draft a guy. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that hit free agency.
God, he's been a college free agent.
Of all the teams that could have made that trade, the Geno Smith trade would have made sense for them. I would argue more so than Vegas, but that deal is come and gone.
It looks like
Milroe is an unbelievable athlete. I'm not saying you can't utilize that, but
Milroe hasn't beat. Well,
can't throw the football.
His completion percentage was better than Shuck's this year.
Yeah, he also had Ryan Williams to throw to. How much? Look at the talent around the guys too.
Shuck's had his choice of like 4 schools of where to go throw.
He's
talent.
won everywhere he's gone, bitch.
Has he?
I don't know. No. Didn't win a lot at Oregon.
He had 16 touchdowns, 11 picks last year.
Shuck or Milroe?
Shuck. Milroe had. Oh no, Shuck had 23 and 6. Milroe was 16 and 11.
That's bad. That's
so bad.
That's bad.
23 and 6 the year prior. Shuck was 7 and 4.
Okay. We got Bosa going to Buffalo. We will not get the teaming up of the Bosas in San Francisco. Joey, after getting cut by the Chargers, has signed with the Bills on a 1-year, I believe, $12 million deal.
Yeah, Buffalo is operating in a smart and risky standpoint. I don't blame them for taking a flyer on Joey Bosa. It's a 1-year deal. Hopefully you get the production you thought you would get from Von Miller, who they had to cut because he was nothing but a disappointment. But as much as they pay Josh Allen, it feels like they're operating on the very thin margins at everywhere else.
Yeah.
1-year deal for pass rush guy.
They just got rid of. I mean, they're doing the same. This is their new Von Miller. Let's just rotate old defensive linemen in.
Who are they? I think did they shine Palmer from L.A. as a he's
fine. It's fine.
You got to get bigger names.
They got a lot of those eggs in the
Slightly bigger
Keon
names.
Coleman development basket. I think that's their hope and prayer
fine,
of he
but
was our first-round pick. And
he's not making any money.
He's not making any money. He's on a cheap deal, and we hope that guy can turn into a number one weapon. But Allen got him to an AFC title game without a legitimate number one weapon. Maybe Shakir is that guy probably for them. A lot of people labeling the Commanders the winners of the offseason. They added Laramie Tunsil. That's a deal we didn't really talk a ton about. Houston's hitting a bit of a reset button at the offensive line, which is both understandable and confusing because they have a young quarterback who's yet to sign the extension. Tunsil was really good last year, but their offensive line was horrendous. So I don't know. It's one of those, like, I get it, but also what are you doing moves from the Texans?
Yeah, because their offensive line collectively, as you mentioned, was bad. I actually don't know how good he really was. He's an interesting player in the... People think he's good, I think, collectively, but then it's a debate of...
The advanced metrics say he's good, but he also had a ton of penalties, a lot of false starts,
yeah, and
stuff.
that's kind of the problem. So, like, Washington trading for that, I went, oh, look at them, kind of beefing up the O-line. And then I saw the other side of that, and I went, why would they? And I know they got a couple picks, but, like, why would they trade him now in Stroud's career? I don't know who's going to end up being right there. I actually don't blame Houston for doing this, and I kind of view this very similar to the Debo deal they made with the Niners. This might become a win-win for both, where I think they could beef up the O-line for Stroud in a more complete way, and then also they got the draft capital. Washington gets a guy that might instantly upgrade slightly from where they were at that position.
It's that weird mix where I see what both sides are doing there. Let's wrap up the show, and we'll close it up for you. Get you set for the rest of the day. Some final thoughts on the NFL free agency and conference tournaments as we wrap it up next on The Fan. Hey, Dirt and Sprague here, sticking around for our good friends at Trajan Wealth. No, I didn't get my 1-year, $12.5 million deal like Joey Bosa did to go to Buffalo. But that doesn't mean that now's not the time to think about retirement, and that's where our great friends at Trajan Wealth come in. Their offices are now located in Portland. They have arrived in our city, and it's time to give them a call, 503-207-6000. Or you can visit their website, Trajan Wealth. That's TRAJANwealth.com.
Well, we can only dare to dream to have $12 million at some point in our lives. Most of us won't be able to do that. You got to look at the future, and you got to think about retirement in ways you don't understand. Trajan Wealth approaches wealth management by looking at a longer time horizon and incorporates the economic cycle into this. Get this, tactical considerations. Ooh. I don't even understand what that means. How many other people don't understand? That's why you call Trajan Wealth today, to try to understand. Their number is 503-207-6000, or you can find them online at TrajanWealth.com.
Trajan Wealth has decades of experience. They're family-owned and veteran-led by Jeff Jr. They are your local trusted financial fiduciary. The number to call, 503-207-6000. The website, Trajan Wealth, TRAJANwealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Paid advertisement.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Yeah, final thoughts on the last segment. We'll get to tonight in sports. I do find Houston fascinating, man. Think about what we were saying about them and Stroud a year ago today. The conversation that existed.
Yeah.
The conversations that he was in. Mm-hmm. And they just traded away. We can debate how good Tunsil is, and is he slightly... I mean, he was their best offensive lineman last year. And they just traded that away for a young quarterback going into year 3. You know what's going to happen next offseason? You're going to pay him. He's going to get the extension.
You want to get ahead of it if you're smart.
You want to get ahead of it if you're smart. It's just they're in an interesting spot for me right now, so I find Houston interesting.
But they made the division round again.
They did. They won a playoff game. They killed the Chargers. I know.
Despite all of that,
I know.
They made the divisional round again.
And they pushed the Chiefs, too. I mean, they were in that game for the majority of it.
If you go read about this trade, by the way, again, we didn't bring this up, and that was a mistake by us the day after. Remember, he's the gas mask weed guy.
He is. He fell in the draft for smoking weed,
Laramie Tunsil.
Weed.
And that was just a jerk that was trying to, get
vengeance. It was his, somebody dated his mom, wasn't it? I think it was somebody related to his family somehow. It was something along those lines, if I remember correctly.
Still something at some point I want to try. Got to be honest with you. But
one of the dumbest reasons we've ever seen a player drop in draft boards.
Yeah, but Dirt, you remember the photo, and it was like, whoa, what?
I mean, he was a college kid. He smoked weed.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty much, yeah. That and a beer bong.
What year was he
college
drafted?
kid's accessory.
I mean, this is not 1987.
I think
No,
that
I know.
was 07 or 2011 or 12. He's been around.
He hasn't been in the NFL that long. This was like 2018,
2016.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2016 draft.
Well, this happened in the.
He fell to the 13th. He was a lock to be a top 5 pick. He fell to 13th.
They got 4 draft picks for him. I'm not saying he's bad.
Yeah.
I also just don't think he's as good as some people talk about him.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know what they're doing either. But I am interested because that line was horrible. They're lucky the Bears existed last year.
Yeah.
Because people did talk about it, but they escaped it a little bit more than they should have because of how bad the Bears were.
Nice game on ESPN tonight. Thunder Celtics 4:30 if you're into that kind of thing. 53-12 against 47-18, maybe a finals matchup. Does the tank begin tonight? Because it should. I know it won't, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
No, Matisse Thybulle's been called up.
I mean, that could help the tank. He has no offensive game. They're playing the Knicks. That game is at 7 o'clock. Does the losing streak reach 5 in a row? No Brunson, obviously, for New York. Line's 4.5.
I don't know if I take the points, but I think could. Listen for how many Knicks fans are in attendance tonight.
There'll be a lot of Knicks fans.
I got friends going to this game.
Yeah. The other ones you keep an eye on if you are still one of those weirdos who wants the 10th seed. The Mavs are in San Antonio tonight, who they just beat, so they got a chance to win that one.
Thunder Celtics is the NBA final.
Unquestionably. And then Phoenix, who is still ahead of you in the standings, is in Houston. So those are the rooting interest
T-Wolves Nugs, too.
T-Wolves Nugs. That's the second half of the ESPN doubleheader. Nice little night NBA hoops. So there you go. Good little show. If you missed any of it, go check the podcast, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague and at 1080thefan. I believe our producer is back tomorrow, so Schultze, we love you, buddy.
Love you guys, too.
Great having you fill in for the last month.
Good to have you, Corn Pop.
It's been a lot of fun having you here.
I'm sure we'll see you in a week.
We enjoyed it greatly. We're off early tomorrow for Duck basketball, but we'll be here nonetheless as conference tournaments get underway. That'll do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next, listening to 1080 The Fan.
Hola, amigos! Brad Evans here to help you beat the books with the BetMGM Network. January